Hello and welcome to the ExtremeZPodcast, the only Dokkan podcast making your favorite talk show format relevant again. I'm your host, Epic Mewtwo.
And I'm your co-host, Kayvon.
And welcome back to Hydration. I wish there was a joke I could make about the elements, H2O making 27, but there's not. So, it's just episode 27. Welcome. How you doing? Happy to see you here. Today we have a very, very special episode for you. We have our boy Jin-roh here for an interview. He'll be with us after our commercial break.
Yep.
As you can see by the time, it was a enlightening conversation, to say the least.
Indeed it was, yes.
It was a good time. We had a blast talking to Jin-roh. As you can see, we talked for mad long. Hopefully you stick around for it all. I think it's definitely worth the listen, even if you're just listening in like 1 hour, half an hour, 20-minute, 10-minute chunks, whatever it may be. 5 minute, 1 minute, who knows? Are you not going to reciprocate with me here?
I'm sorry. My brain is small brain.
We did talk for quite a while. It was a great time, though, so we definitely recommend sticking around for that. Yeah. But before we get into the Fist of the North Star himself, we have some news to go over. Let's go ahead and begin. So, starting with JP, we have the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks EZA going live again. This, of course, introduced the EZA for the Fizz. I almost said Gogeta. What am I talking about? Fizz. Fizz Seal Tanks and the STR Gotenks that has the Ghost in his SSR art. So, very, very nice. Both those EZAs are pretty solid. With that as well, we of course had the SSBK EZA go live as well for our boy, which was awesome as well. He also had his banner go up, that being himself, Super Saiyan 3 Broly, and Tech Cell. A very interesting
Super Saiyan 3 Broly.
Weird that it's like 2 extreme tech and then Goku.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because they're too scared to put the category leads on these banners.
Yeah, it's very odd. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, though, the category units aren't necessarily to the tier of what these EZA units are,
True, but imagine if Hit was on this banner instead of Super Saiyan 3 Broly.
Baby, I'd be well in my heart. Yo, that upcoming cooler? Hit? Yeah. I just did
Hit out of 3 units? Hello?
True. I just did the Kanye meme, and nobody could see it because I just did it without speaking, so I don't know why I did it.
I envisioned it, don't worry.
Good. Anyway, we have the 6th space category gacha held, aka the kind of sounds like I'm saying ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
The Universe 6 gacha, of course, because the Universe 6 team is super effective on SSPK's EZA. This banner
is super effective.
It's super effective. You sounded like Pokemon Battle Revolution there.
That was the plan.
Good. I'm glad that's what you're going for. But yeah, that banner, low key, was actually pretty good. They've been doing a pretty good job, not to get off track too much, but they've been doing a pretty good job about making those side banners pretty worth. The banner had STR Kale, Tech Caulifla, Int Bodo Magetta, STR Frost, Fizz Caulifla Kefla, AGL Caulifla, and Fizz Champa, which are all very good.
Yep.
So they definitely are making these banners actually pretty worth your while. I still might go ahead and summon on this. I haven't decided yet, but it is a pretty good banner, and obviously a chance for some LRs as well with the 30 stone multis.
Very true.
Moving on, though, I'm running out of breath here. We're making it through. The Elder Kai banner had a reset, so that's very cool. Reset. Just in case you are not aware, because it was more of a recent change, we did have the Elder Kai banner become a staple and a permanent thing in Dokkan. Basically, on JP, you can do 2 50 stone multis for 10 Elder Kais every single month. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, if you don't do it, it's still there the next month, but it's not like you get 4 chances for a multi, right? It doesn't build up, they reset it. Yeah, it would be nice indeed. Moving on, yay! Figures are in the actual news. Figure, yes. We had the announcement of the LR Vegito Blue collab figure, which is really cool that they put that in the news. I love that figure of the compelling, that with a 3-dimensional rock pedestal illustrations of Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegito.
Oh my god.
Collab figure is within the app being held to challenge campaign to the legend. Legend. But basically, they came out with this figure in honor of the LR Vegito campaign, which is very cool. I will be posting a video about this guy when I get him in, as soon as I get him in. So keep an eye out for that. I am very excited for that as well, actually, because, woo, baby, Dokkan figures are awesome. Anyway.
Heck yeah, boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, boy. Anyway. The Learn to Fly event has returned as well. We had the notices of the new stage for the Candy Vegito event and the Ghost Tanks event, both of which are live now. We also had the Raditz event go live, and then we had the SOS, the Kid Trunks in the Great Saiyaman outfit go live, which is awesome because it's so cool. And it is a completely original thing to Dokkan, not just the story. Obviously, like Dokkan story mode is a different story, but
have you actually read the story by the way?
Vaguely, but I need to go through it again. But that also sounded really weird. I mean, like, quest mode is obviously, an original thing, but they don't do story events usually that are all original. And this one is the first one that is, and as well as a unit that actually isn't based off of any pre-existing Dragon Ball thing. I don't even think this is in Dragon Ball Heroes, to my knowledge.
No, not at all.
So, cool. Awesome. I love it. Very, very glad that they did this. And the Trunks is a pretty good unit as well. We did have a maintenance for all the Halloween stuff.
No, don't remember what that was.
Oh, I do. I do indeed.
Emergency maintenance.
I'm getting to it. We had a maintenance for all of the Halloween stuff, but it wasn't originally planned. Like Kayvon said, it was an emergency maintenance. Basically, what happened is they downloaded all the Halloween stuff into Dokkan, and they deleted half the database by accident.
Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah, they deleted most of it, not just half. So they had to go and do emergency maintenance and then just push out a update to fix it. It honestly sounds like a big deal because it's like they deleted most of the game by accident, even though it was just like server side-ish. It's really not a big deal. Basically, it just made the game unplayable. They closed the game, and then they opened the game again and gave a little bit of compensation. I called it, by the way. 3 stones was the compensation for this. Anyhow, we did have the Pounding Dokkan Halloween login bonus. I don't necessarily like the Kid Mai is there, but that is a new art for Kid Mai. Or maybe she's been in a story event before?
She was made for this story event, but...
Okay. Either way, though, I like, too, that the text has the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern incorporated, and then the little eyes on some of the kanji. That's cool. All right.
Amazing.
Moving on from that, we had the... oh, no, I'm losing it. We had the Halloween missions get their update, which is really cool, as well as some missions for the celebration. We had the SOS event go live. We had the campaign go live, which, just to go through real quick because it ain't too big. Halloween events, obviously. Unfortunately, I know a lot of us were speculating, including me, that we were going to get a Part 2 LR, especially with seeing the Trunks and My asset from Summons. Turns out it was just a Trunks and My banner because they never technically got their own banner, even though Christmas was their banner. So it wasn't really
that was
an
Rising
LR
Dragon
banner.
Carnival.
Right, so. It wasn't an LR banner technically. So either way, though, this is here now. So don't summon on it. Save for cooler. Easy skip.
Skip cooler, save for New Year's.
No, I actually, funny enough, with Jin-roh being in the guest later, I quote retweeted one of his tweets earlier, I think today, and I was like, because he tweeted out about the Trunks banner, he was like, this is an easy skip. Cooler is is what you should be saving for, not shaving for. And I was like, no, I think you mixed it up. I think you mean that Cooler is an easy skip, and Trunks is what you should be spending your stones on. Of course, don't actually do that, please.
If anything, save for heroes, because that'll be featured GSSR.
True, and Cooler will return.
Summon on anything. Yeah.
Just like the end of Infinity War. Cooler will return. Anyway, Int banner went live, and with this we got the awakenings of the 2 Int support units, which is awesome. This banner is here for a little bit, so I definitely recommend summoning on it. It is actually a very, very good banner. Featured units are obviously, of course, 2 supports: Oceanus, Paragus that goes into Paragus and Broly, Hercule, Brienne, and Vegeta that Dokkan's into Vegeta kicking up Cell.
Oh, that's actually a really good banner. And don't forget, if you need GT Trio, Bojack, or LR Gohan, this is a good place to get them.
Because obviously it's limited to only Int units. So yeah, fantastic banner, honestly.
Right.
I'll probably be doing some summons on it after Cooler comes out. Hopefully after I pull him. But I digress. We also had Trunks events here permanently. Goku Black, Vegito Blue, Rose, Blue Evolution, Zamasu, Dragon Ball Super Story event is here. All of that coinciding with Trunks and Mai, of course.
Did you say they're just here permanently?
Oh, sorry. I meant for the duration of the campaign. Okay. My bad. You're right. I did say permanently.
I'll say like Chocomoto.
Forever. No, I meant for as long as the campaign's here. We also had the Namek event that is going to be here until the campaign ends as well. We also have the... why is this here? The Vegeta Super Strike is here?
What was it? It was to farm. It's to farm Scouter Vegeta's essay. The Int one.
Is that really the only reason?
Yeah.
Huh.
Why do you think Gohan's event is here? To awaken both them and to farm Gohan's essay.
Oh, because he needs the medals. That's why. Not farming him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
I mean, same thing. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a lot. But we're getting through it. I'm sorry. My voice is like, you can hear it. It's fading.
Tired.
It's all good, though. We're making it through. Listen, if you can hear how tired we are, though, that means that you know. That means that Krillin doesn't have one. That means that you know now that the conversation at the end of this video is very good. We're just not going to talk for a solid, 10 minutes after we're done with this.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit in silence.
Yes, exactly. Anyway. Bulma's Battle Prep came back along with the World Tournament, which is currently live at the time of this recording. I think it might be ended by the time this goes up.
The Battle Prep is still here for a day or two after
I mean...
the World Tournament will be down, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, anyhow. And then, of course...
Events that shall not be named because they need revamps.
Yeah, Kid Goku and Boss Rabbit, please revamp.
Boss Rabbit,
please revamp it.
Boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Boss Rabbit.
Boss. Another error on JP with stamina, it looks like. Kayvon, do you know the detail on this one?
I got nothing.
Clear the fault in content stage in some missions, such as consumption of act. In it, there is a case in which achievement is not reflected properly. Yeah.
Okay.
And they fixed it by now. Cool. All right, moving on from that. Martial arts tournament, just because I read it off of there. That's what I said. Don't worry about it. Oh, updated banner for the general pool and for the World Tournament SSRs.
Low-key, that general pool banner is actually kind of nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Zamasu, the 2 blue units, one of them Izie and Gowasu.
Mm-hmm. Not bad at all.
Weirus is on it, too.
Really? Featured?
Yeah. Featured, yeah. I pulled him.
Dang, that's pretty fire.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All right, and then we have, of course... Yeah, we have the World Tournament banner as well, which now has added Mighty Mask, which was not on there before, so that's pretty cool.
Pretty nice featured units, I'll be honest.
Yeah, not bad for the World T. Yeah.
I'm just quick to make sure.
What is this? Oh, the rewards.
About the DB Saga update, by the way.
Oh yeah, I will talk about that. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, basically it's just talking about reward distribution and the tournament.
The last units that are on the general pool banner featured is the HEL, West Kai, and Champa, so that is a very good Realm of Gods themed banner.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
For a general pool, that is very nice.
Right, so the Dragon Ball banner got an update as well with a brand new Grandpa Gohan and See-Through Invisible Man. My favorite essay in the game at the moment. It's so good. SR on him, SSR on Grandpa Gohan. Definitely go ahead and go pull for those boys. Other than that, in the time between now and then, we did get V-Jump that went ahead and leaked. We have a brand new cooler that is coming out. It is a transforming cooler.
STR too.
Yeah, Extreme STR. He is, the form that you first see him in the movie, and then he transforms into Final Form Cooler, and he will be coming out. Yeah, he will be coming out, I believe, the week after this podcast.
And we also have the impending Super Dragon Ball Heroes collab coming soon to Dokkan.
Yes, which we'll hopefully find out more about tomorrow, or will probably be information up when the podcast goes up. Unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Thank you, Dokkan, for your information, always memeing us. Yes. Anyway, ball's in your court. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah, take a break. All right, so on Global, we had all the 3 Dragon Ball Saga story events come back. The Pilaf's Trove and the shop went into maintenance. It was back up by now. The ExtremeZ Challenge Pack went up for Buhan. Yes, of course. How could I forget?
Disgusting.
His Dokkan Festival went live. It was Buhan, Fizz Tanks, and Vegito Blue. Not bad.
That actually isn't bad, yeah.
Portara Category Summon. Very nice. The new stages for the Halloween units also came to Global, along with the new teaser for the SOS event for the Trunks. Now we have the terror-stricken Dokkan Halloween campaign. Spoopy. I love how the eye is the eye is literally an eye. If you look at it, and then they have the pumpkin as the O.
Yeah, there you go.
Beautiful. So we have the login bonus, the missions, Dragonstone Sale, LR Frieza Legendary Summon on Global. The 3 Halloween events, all the events to awaken Frieza. Fizz Full Power Frieza ZZA is back. I don't understand why necessarily, but oh well. I guess to keep in the Frieza theme. Quest EXP doubled. Good memes.
Quadruplet. Please.
This is out of left field. Hybrid Saiyans category banner and Fizz Broly's EZA already on Global.
I guess
he's they have to flop it somewhere.
Yeah. I guess he's spooky.
Yeah, I mean, his name is Eternal Horror, so.
That's true.
But, because him and Tech Frieza are in weird places, because Broly obviously came out with Go Bros on JP.
Mm-hmm.
And Frieza came out with Hits, so we need to, wiggle him in somewhere, you know what I mean?
Right.
ExtremeZ Challenge Pack, Broly's EZA, the revamp of the Broly story event. Defeat the Legendary Super Saiyan, very nice. Along with the category boost being added to Super Warrior Slam, Victory Will Be Mine. I love that name. The Great Pontus comes back, along with Wrath of the Dragon, and this was kind of wacky. The Halloween pack.
Mm-hmm.
It was a $30 to $40 pack or so, depending on your currency or whatever. And it gave you essentially one ticket. A ticket that'll give you a special 20-unit multi on the LR Full Power Frieza banner.
Wow.
That guaranteed 3 SSRs. So theoretically, it's better than buying the 91 stone pack, though you don't get the yellow coins, which people apparently value more than a chance at an LR. So,
was that a call out to the Reddit that I just heard?
When isn't it? Weekend summons are back. I'd say just spend your tickets every weekend, because I doubt they'll make it double rates again. Watch them bamboozle me. And yeah, basically just a weekend summon stuff. The special missions are on the weekend and all that. And is that it? Oh yeah, so Yeah, that's basically it. Then there's going to be a server maintenance on the 30th.
What do you think it's for?
Probably to add in Broly, I'll be honest. Because I don't think he's in the files yet.
Oh, gotcha.
And to add in the awakenings for the Goten, Videl, and Trunks.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Anything else? No, I think that's it. And maybe... Oh, and I think, actually, since we're in the story event, it's going to, like, low-key force Sagasuki's hand to bring in Broly's new OST. That should be playing in his active skill. And maybe we'll at least get the Japanese active skill voice. Because English is gone.
Sorry.
Thanks, Funimation. But anyhow. That's it for global news. That went faster than I thought it would.
Good. And that means we are done. So, my chest literally hurts. I know it doesn't. Just trust in your boy here. Definitely go check out part 2. What?
Trust your instincts.
Trust your instincts. Definitely go check out part 2. It is absolutely fantastic. We had a great time talking to the boy Jin-roh for 4 hours. That's why the chest hurts. Yeah. But it was great. Every moment of it. I adored it. I loved it.
You're going to have to wait to do that after this ad.
You tripped me up. I was like, wait, why am I waiting? All right, well, ad time.
Watch the ad.
And welcome back. We hope you viewed that with your oculars.
No, we don't hope. You must have.
I mean, I hope they did. If they did, they must have. I'm still hoping. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we are here with another special guest. That's right. I know it's actually been a few episodes, but
yeah,
we are very excited to have one of the pretty. What adjective do I use here? Dopest, raddest. Why am I back in the 90s? Jin-roh is here with us today. Say hello.
What's good? What's happening? Thanks for having me on. And I know we had our scheduling conflicts, but glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad it worked out in the end. It's all right. Hey, I'd rather you be healthy than sit here for, if we're on Hantan hours, then mad long.
We don't speak of those dark times.
Honestly, I think if I was on while I was sick, I think the audience would have been pissed just telling me to blow my nose or something. You know what I mean?
I feel so bad. I've streamed before sick, and like every 5 minutes it's just muting your mic and just blowing it. It's so bad.
I know what you mean.
Forgetting. And then blowing
and then forgetting and being like, and then everybody's like, dude, you forgot to mute it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
It could be worse. It could be worse.
It could indeed be worse. Well, today we are going to do our classic interview of our man. So we're going to ask you a bunch of different questions here. We have some questions related to Dokkan. We have some questions related to Dragon Ball as a franchise. Some questions about you on YouTube and whatnot. Your more personal stuff. I don't mean like, what's the 4 digits on the back of the card you used to get stones?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how many curveballs you're going to throw at me. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Don't worry.
Yeah, tell me your exact Google Maps location. No. All right, well, Kayvon, would you like to get us started with question 1?
I don't see a 1 on this list. Where's that?
You know what it is. There's no numbers. We don't need it.
I'm kidding. All right. So, first off, how did you first find out about Dokkan, and where did you first hear about it from?
I think, honestly, the way I found out about it was pretty similar to, I think, a lot of us, honestly. I've had, like, terrible attention spans when it comes to mobile games in the past, so I would constantly look for games that I'm passionate about, basically, on the App Store or whatever, and I think, maybe a month or 2 after the official release, I just happened to Google or, look up Dragon Ball-related mobile games, and honestly, it was the first one that showed up. And I ended up downloading it, and I started off playing Global for a little bit, but maybe about a month, and then switched over to JP. But honestly, it was just constantly, maybe every other month, looking for something interesting based on Dragon Ball that I could play on my phone, and then it finally came out. So, I mean, honestly, it's a pretty unoriginal background, but that's pretty much how it went about.
I mean, hey, everybody's got their different way. That is interesting, though. I mean, I've never heard somebody, though, saying they were diligently searching for their Dragon Ball related soulmate. You know.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: the only other game I had on my phone at the time was like Temple Run, and that game sucked. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Fair. My favorite gacha game, Temple Run, of course. Oh man! All right. Well, interesting. So I guess that does kind of tell us then. We were gonna ask, when did you start playing Dokkan and how long? So, but that means you've been playing since like basically the beginning, then, huh?
Yeah, so I think when I logged in earlier today with Reset, I think my day was like 14:30, 14 something, like something like that maybe. So
JP, right?
yeah, JP. Cumulatives, I lost it when I was on a trip to Vegas. I forgot to log in one day because I was occupied, quote unquote. But outside of that, it's been pretty consistent. So yeah, about roughly over 1,400 days.
That's awesome. So
that's pretty crazy.
Wow. So you've been here since Meta 1 up to current where we are. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, things have definitely changed a lot for the better, though.
Yeah, definitely could say that. All right, my boy, you're up.
So you already pretty much answered which version you play, but like, why do you stick to the JP version instead of global? Like, why did you switch?
Yeah, so I'll pretty much summarize by saying I'm originally from Japan, right? I was born there, and I'm still a citizen. So a lot of the stuff related to any manga or anime, I prefer the Japanese version, whether that's visually or from a audible standpoint. So once I found out JP was available, I just immediately went over to JP. I didn't know anything about quote unquote better rates or early releases compared to global or anything like that. It was simply from just a language preference of Japanese. That's pretty much why I switched over immediately.
Wow, that's the first reason I've heard for that, actually.
That's pretty good. I mean, that makes sense. So then that just means that you're not a weeaboo. You're just authentic.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. I was asking myself the same question yesterday. If I'm Japanese and I'm into this stuff, does that make me a weeb too, or what? What's up?
I would say no would be my answer, but I don't know. Maybe there's an argument on the other side.
Very good question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because they call like people over there who like our kind of stuff are Westaboos, I believe is the term. But like
that's interesting.
You also live around here, right? So
right.
I don't know. That's a very big gray area.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of gray right there. So the verdict's out.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Jury's out on that one. But anyhow, this one I like to ask, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm being nosy with like you're spending totally on the game, nosy. But just hush. But like all of us Dokkan YouTubes, yes, all of our Dokkan YouTubers, of course, we all just have a bank account labeled Dokkan, right? So
yeah, pretty much.
So I have to ask, when did you start spending on the game and why?
All right, that's a very good question because I think all of us remember that exact same moment of when it happened. You know what I mean? So for me, it was the Agility Super Vegito and Physical Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. At that point, I had played long enough, and I was getting tired of getting shafted, honestly. So I just straight up, I was like, all right, let me load in my credits and see what happens. But it's kind of like quicksand in that moment because as soon as I put money into it, I pulled both Vegito and Broly. So it's just that, that's when things went downhill from there. I guess in a way.
The game caught you.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Bandai spy was already on to you from the start.
Its namesake came through. The gotcha game gotcha.
That's how they get you, man. That's how they get you.
Oh yeah,
we all know that feel.
That's so like I know it's just because you were playing since the beginning, but I don't think we've ever had anybody thus far be like, I mean, I guess they're not the OGs, but like the OGs. I mean, they're the OG 70s, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
All right, so this will be a brain teaser. That's the right word, yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite LR, TUR, and team to run in Dokkan?
All right, that's a tough one, honestly. So, favorite LR, TUR, and UR, right? That's the question.
Well, just LR and TUR. SSR doesn't really matter.
Okay, all right. That makes it easier for me, honestly. Favorite LR. This is probably going to be one of those. I don't know. It's dependent on each person, I guess. But for me, it's actually the physical type LR Trunks. That's probably my favorite LR. The reason being is whenever that unit was announced, first of all, that's the one I really wanted the most. And it actually ended up being the first summonable LR that I pulled. But reading through the manga, right, of the entire series, that introduction of Future Trunks was probably the most mind-blowing section in the whole series for me. Just the whole plot background of the character and badass introduction. So I don't know, it's very iconic. So a lot of the reasons behind why I love it so much is probably that. That's what I would say about the LR.
Okay.
In terms of the UR, I not based on performance or anything. My favorite's probably the Extreme Intelligence Perfect Cell, just because the card art is damn good looking. You know what I mean? And I had him rainbowed like way before the EZA was even announced. So once that happened, it was like being a kid at a candy store. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I feel that one. Still the best art by far.
Yeah, it's crazy. Usually, and you guys might agree, a lot of times the base SSR card art looks better than the TUR state.
Yes,
and
I say that all the time. You don't even know.
And surprisingly, that card, the TUR state, looked so much better than the base state. So I think that was one of the few times that actually happened. So I think a lot of it's down to that as well. And the unit itself with the EZA extremely good. So it all worked out. I think
that is true. I didn't think about that. That is a unit that the TUR is definitely better than the.
Plus, let's be honest, the SSR Event Perfect Cell is really just Tech Perfect Cell's SSR too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to another one that I do really love. It's the Great Brilliance Spirit Bomb Goku card. That one's probably one of my favorites as well, just because it looks really, really good as a card art design.
Interesting. Oh yeah, what about favorite team?
Favorite team? So for the longest time, honestly, it's been movie buses, but lately I've really been loving the Future Saga category, especially with transforming Trunks and a couple of units that have come out with that category, especially Future Gohan recently on JP. But it's just crazy how one of the worst categories ended up becoming one of the best ones, especially from a really tough battle standpoint, like Legendary Goku then and Super Battle Run and stuff like that. So it's been one of my favorites lately. Wicked Bloodline's also a really good one too.
Oh yeah, I think you just struck a chord with the homie Garush there.
Yeah, it's Metacooler team is definitely very, very interesting. I actually cleared it once with the Extreme Type Super Battle Road with the Agility Metacooler lead, and the rest of them being the free-to-play Metacooler units. I would never do it again, but it was a lot of fun when I did it.
Is that video up on your channel?
I think I remember that. Actually.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should be up. I think I did it. I don't know, maybe about 9 or 10 months ago. Maybe I can't remember exactly when, but.
Well, I guess I have some material to watch before I go to sleep tonight.
Yeah, you'll probably feel my pain watching it if you do, honestly.
Oh, I'm sure.
Can we get a TUR for those guys, please? Hello?
Give our boys some glory. Give them some love. That's right.
Absolutely.
Speaking of free-to-play cards, though, transition. How do you feel about the quality of free-to-play cards in Dokkan and how they've improved? And this is a great question for you since you've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, so honestly, it's been very good in my opinion. I think back in the day, if people remember, a lot of times getting a super attack was difficult in the early days of Dokkan Battle. Like links were trash, the units didn't really have key boosting, passives, and leader skills didn't have the key +3 and all that crap. So I mean, the fact that we have free-to-play units that are pretty much self-sufficient on teams, I mean, that's a tremendously good thing. Not everybody's going to have the cash flow to summon all the time, and it's good in the way that you can have a blended approach with summonable units and free-to-play units nowadays. So I think it's a great thing. Honestly, I'm loving it so far.
Cool, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that from a veteran, a well-aged. Why do I keep calling you old? I don't mean to. A well-aged Dokkan player.
I mean, maybe I'm just coming across that way, right?
No. You're all good. Don't worry.
All right, next up.
I'd rather be called old than young and naive, honestly. So
I mean, fair.
I'll take that exchange.
All right. So, would you still play Dokkan if it wasn't a Dragon Ball game?
Okay, so the best example I can give you, and probably my honest answer is no, because a good example of this is I actually played Seven Deadly Sins when it first came out for a little while, and the gameplay is pretty much, in my opinion, flawless, very well done, executed, but I've never seen or read any of the manga or anime, so I have no connection to it, right? So after a while, it just gets stale for me, man. So I quit playing after a while, and I think it'd be the same thing for Dragon Ball, like Dokkan Battle. If it was something besides Dragon Ball, I don't think I would be as invested as I am right now. Even with YouTube and all that, I would probably end up playing a different game, honestly.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
I think we gotta agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a wrench into this question, though.
Yeah.
If
I mean, a lot of the times, right? Like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first. You are the guest after.
Well, I was just going to say that, you guys probably feel me on this, but a lot of the joy you get out of playing Dokkan Battle is pulling the cards based on characters you really love, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to, not just from a leader skill and skill set setting, but a lot of it's down to the characters,
True.
Yeah.
That is true.
Very true. So I was going to say, if Dokkan wasn't a Dragon Ball Z game, what game would you want it to be if you had to choose?
I mean, I'm going to be very biased with this because I'm only going to bring in my secondary favorite manga or anime. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what. You know what? I'm going to go against the grain on this one. My first answer was going to be Fist of the North Star, which I really love. And, they have a mobile game that's really good right now, but it's Sega and they're greedy as hell with the VIP package and all that. We're not going to go there, but. Honestly, I think another game that would work really well with the mechanics of Dokkan is like Dragon Quest. I think that would actually be pretty cool.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Interesting. That's not what I expected you to say, but I'm glad you said it because that's pretty interesting.
So, have you guys ever heard of, back in the 90s, they had something called, I don't know if it ever flowed over to the U.S. and the Western countries, but it was called Batoen, right? It's abbreviated for battle pencils. And back in elementary school, right, you basically roll the pencils, and each side has like an attack percentage or whatever, and it's kind of a game based on that. But I'm almost thinking, something like that would directly translate into something like a Dokkan battle gameplay system. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
I just looked it up. That is cool. There's Dragon Quest of those, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
That's neat.
Dang. Battle pencils. Cool. Well, you heard it here first. Go ahead and...
I've actually been looking online to, just buy some for nostalgic purposes. But, I mean, I think, honestly, that stuff rubbed off from you, man, because I always see tweeting posts about picking up figure arts and all kinds of goodies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I tweet about that stuff quite frequently, so yes.
The bad influence. I had again.
Oh, yeah. All right, well. Sorry, my throat is awful. I may be getting sick. I don't know. But, all right, so don't feel any bias to this question. But who is, and you can say you, I guess, but who's your favorite Dokkan
I already
YouTuber?
know. I think I already know the question, but go ahead anyway.
Yeah, who's your favorite Dokkan YouTuber?
Okay, so let me think about this because I'm gonna be 100% honest, right? Is based on the lifestyle that I live, I pretty much isolate Dokkan Battle when it comes to YouTube. I pretty much treat YouTube as stuff I want to watch, like outside of the game. You know what I mean? Like whether that's the Premier League or NFL or just film reviews or whatever the case is. I pretty much dedicate YouTube to just what my other passions are. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't watch any other YouTubers' content necessarily. That's going to come across as probably a negative connotation in a way, but no, not really. I don't know. It's just kind of the principle that I set to myself. You would understand. Like, we spend a lot of time on creating content as it is. So it's kind of like you have to step away from all that outside of creating content. Otherwise, you're gonna end up burning out really fast. So that's kind of the approach I've taken. So I guess the short answer is Probably everyone but nobody at the same time because I rarely watch any content.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, interesting. I mean,
Fair enough.
I get that from, like definitely from the perspective of you do it so much, not to, not even including like the time that you might just play the game in your free time.
Right.
And like, I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. I just wonder then, like, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I do hop on live streams quite a bit when it comes to Dokkan. Like, if I'm working, I probably shouldn't admit this, but if I'm at the office working, typing up spreadsheets or whatever, like, I'll plug in whoever's on a live stream and just kind of listen in while I work, or I'll do that sometimes during the evenings or whatever while I grind Dokkan Battle. But it's never been anyone specific. I just randomly hop on streams regardless of channel size or who it is or whatever. But when it comes to watching content like that, I mean that's probably the case. But again, there's no one specific that I tailor to necessarily.
Gotcha. Interesting. So like not even like summons just to see what other people get, or like then how do you figure out who, like, because I know you've done a couple of collabs with other people in the past, even some of our bigger friends in the community. How do you like not audit them? I guess that's not the right word, but like
yeah, I think a lot of that is based on interactions on Twitter. Like initially when I started the start of the channel, it's like I'll admit I was pretty much kind of like a lone wolf, just kept on my own little island, didn't really interact much with anyone in the community, just kind of did my own thing. But Social Fire came about to creating her channel, and she's a lot more open, and I guess nicer is probably the right word for it. But that kind of opened up a lot of opportunities to talk with different guys in the community, and a lot of it's based on just figuring out how people are on social media and just kind of getting a vibe, a little bit, and having a conversation, about let's do it. Why not? That's kind of how it's been. So, I mean, summon wise, I'll hop in every now and then on again a random YouTuber, and a lot of the bigger guys show up on the algorithm or whatever. But,
right. Yeah.
It's kind of like a good and bad thing, right? I have this superstition, right? I try not to watch other people's summons before I summon on the banner, just because like I'm getting my positive luck like stolen from me if I see like some like really good summon videos or whatever, and I go in on the banner and I get shafted like That's crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's just a state of mind, honestly.
I feel that.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. We summon all the time together. Like I'll watch him summon and he'll watch me summon like live, even like in the video sometimes. And I know like it's super frustrating when one of us, like for example, the with LR Gohan, right? They came out for 300 milli.
Don't talk to me about that.
Like we did the same amount of stones. I think it was quite a bit.
It was like first rotation.
Yeah,
like when it all happened.
Right, like first rotation.
So give me a stone count so I know I have a perspective on the gravity of the situation.
Well, first rotation on global, it was like what 90 stones total, and then the free multi.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously for JP it was 150.
Yeah.
I think total though we probably went both like 400 maybe.
Probably
yeah.
Like, the first rotation is what broke me.
I got Gohan and 2 dupes in the first rotation, and he got 1 in the entirety of those 400 stones.
You know what? So I will say this. Like, first of all, that was ridiculous on your end. I think pulling 1 off of one rotation, a lot of people would be okay with that.
Right.
In that regard, right?
No, 100%.
I just got mine. He got so much more.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Like I think that's my point being, like it was downplayed so damn much because of how good the other person's summon was. So I completely understand where you're coming from on that.
Didn't help. He got the double LR Gohan multi.
Yeah, there was one where it was 2 of them multi. Yeah,
that's what I just felt.
That's crazy. Yeah. The newest LR to get a double pull, that's insane.
What I think was funniest to me is that he got that with all free-to-play stones.
That's true.
Saving.
Yeah, I was saving for a while, because I usually do, like, I'll hit that whale button, but, like, that was all free-to-play stuff, which was just weird for me.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, I guess we'll find out how it goes for you guys on the... do both of you guys play Global or JP?
I can't remember. I play Global.
Okay, so it's actually like a mix of both worlds, right? That's probably the best way to go about it. That's kind of how social and I have our setup. I play JP and she plays global, so it's kind of like good mix of batches. You know what I mean? So I guess you guys can summon and compare what the rates are like with different situations. I guess in a way.
Yeah. It's always good. It brings a nice dynamic to not only the podcast but just general Dokkan conversation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a friendly rivalry in a way, right?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, definitely sometimes.
Friendly.
Friendly.
I had to pick the politically correct terminology for that one.
Yeah, I got you. I appreciate it. You're appeasing Susan. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, you're up.
Which one? Okay, here we are. So, if you could add one thing to Dokkan, what would it be?
I could add one thing to Dokkan. So there's so many. It's kind of like hard to come up with one first of all, and then one is like remembering which one or filtering down to one. So let me return it by asking you guys while I think. What do you? I mean, because you guys asked this quite a while. So what would you guys want included?
This wasn't in the simulations.
This wasn't in the script. No, it's all good.
Or is this how everybody answers that question by asking you guys, right? Every podcast.
No. This is the first time you're giving us some zingers. I appreciate it. No,
I mean, you're putting everybody on the spotlight. It might as well be time you guys get on the spotlight a little bit, right?
That is true. Well, I mean, the end of the podcast, but we're not going to talk about that till we get there. Anyway, what one? I have nothing. Sure. I had something that I always said that I would add to Dokkan, but now it's escaping me.
We're talking about like a new system mechanic type deal, right?
Sure, it could be anything,
right?
Update anything.
But outside of what's already existing, release a new quest already, man. What's taking so long?
Fact. It could be cards too if you want, but yes.
And I mean, they could do it like honestly, like at the bare minimum once a year, if not quarterly. Like do something like just extend one chapter or something, one area, whatever. Like, they really need to do that.
Yeah. Legends does it pretty consistently. They just added one recently, actually. A big drop of, and then too, they what they usually do is they'll add more chapters, and then they'll also go back to the old chapters and add higher difficulties for more stones, which is nice. Cool. Yeah,
that is really cool. I briefly kind of test the waters with Legends, but really haven't played much. Honestly, I haven't played in well over a year. Honestly,
I got you. Ooh, dang. I don't know. I'm on and off whenever they introduce. Like my favorite form is Super Saiyan 3 Goku, so they just released that new one, and I'm like, and they pulled me right back in.
That's how they get you, right? Every time you think you're out, they suck you right back in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm having a hard time thinking of what to introduce, but I will say what they absolutely should not introduce. I know that for a fact. This is something that they shouldn't do. I think that would kill the game. And I'll go in and say a trading system would be absolutely the worst thing to possibly introduce in the game.
Yes, I can agree with that.
I did actually see one idea that is the only idea I could see working for a trading system.
Which is?
A Secret Santa trading system sort of thing. Where you gift one of your SSRs to a random person. It's a one-time thing. And you receive an SSR of equal value.
Like Wonder Trade.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean, I
trade a Palkia for a Zigzagoon.
I guess that. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would work, and it would be kind of a timing-wise. It would be more of a seasonality type deal. So I guess that could work. You have limit. I'm guessing you would limit how many times you can do that type of stuff.
Yeah, it would just be a one-time thing. It's what I saw a post on Reddit. Credit to whoever the Reddit post was. I don't remember. But
if we can find it, link in the description.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems pretty cool. Like you basically select a parameter based on tier level, like LR or whatever, and you get an equivalent value LR, right, or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
But normal trading, like that is out of the question.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, they would be exploited so bad. I mean, like with rerolls and all that, it would just go haywire, honestly. And
hard value would tank so hard.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking about. It's funny because we have all these ideas, but when we get asked that question,
I know, right?
Compiling the information is the difficult part.
Fair. I do actually have one.
I would say if I wanted to add one thing, well, besides probably the thing I want the most at the moment, just because it's on the mind, because it's what's happening right now, is a World Tournament update. Please update how it works.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
The thing about that is, like, I have, like, I'm basically, like, on the fence about that one, right? One being, like, we've had the same structure for so long, like, I'm almost, like, afraid of changing the formula in a way, you know, with how the system is. But at the same time, I perfectly agree. I mean, it's so redundant. I mean, I literally only do it to get the mission rewards up to 30 million, and that's it. But, you know, if they had a new approach of it, it would probably refreshen things up. But again, I'm afraid of how systematically it would change. I think it would just kind of like, you know, I'm a very structured person, right? So anytime a real big change like that happens, I get a little bit uneasy about it. But, you know, that's probably my take on it.
I gotcha.
I do think the only thing World Tournament really needs is a changed up preliminary, because let's all be honest, that's the worst part of the World Tournament. And maybe add like another higher difficulty, or have something like give like a category boost to like World Tournament points, because like we're always going to bring out our Broly to just sweep through it. Let's be honest.
Right.
Like make it so that our other units could be like something for a specific category to like give us more bonus points.
We have a couple of that, but not enough.
Yeah,
and I don't even know like if PvP is even an option at this point. The only reason why I bring this up is so I've been playing the Fist of the North Star game, right? And the way their PvP works is you basically select a team to go in and fight other players. However, similar to Dokkan Battle, you're basically just fighting an AI, and it's auto driven, right? So you don't necessarily control anything. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that kind of system would go well. Honestly, I think people would probably figure out programs that automatically, you know, go through that farming process, I guess you can say it. So I don't know if that would necessarily work either. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, what like there's no need to fix what's not broken. At the same time, just improve what's needed to be done.
Right.
agreed.
I agree with that. I mean, it would be hard too, I think, to implement the system that Dokkan has at the moment into PvP. Like, I think if they were, it's possible, but I think that a newer system might be better. But I think that something that could work really well with the system that we have now could be a co-op type thing, like live co-op.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty awesome. Like, I know Seven Deadly Sins had that co-op raid mission where you go with someone else and their team, and it's pretty much like instead of seven units, you pretty much have 14 units. Essentially, that would be for Dokkan, right? So, of course, the boss would be tougher and the HP levels would be higher and whatnot. But, yeah, I could totally see that working. And honestly, like, you would have a completely different scenario of team building with that. Because, you know, if you have another person in the game or the battle, you're going to bring in different types of units that's going to complement each other, you know? So that would actually be very cool, honestly. That's a good point.
Yeah. I would love it. I'd certainly love it. And plus, then it would, you know, more bringing the community together, which is already a good thing.
Yeah, either you make new friends or friendship gets ruined.
Oh, yeah. Mario Party up in here. All right. Anyhow.
So before we move on, I do want to just add my 2 cents on what to add to Dokkan.
No.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Since the introduction of the Great Saiyaman Trunks, I want more Dokkan like exclusive units, like stuff that is like just unique to Dokkan. Like I just find it so cool, like the little Trunks story, how it was like it was a whole unique thing,
right?
Like, and it felt so in tune with like the series too. And like I want more of that, honestly.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, that's, you know, along with that too, I think. When it comes to Dokkan Battle, let me ask you guys a question. So we've had some small collaborative, you know, banners and whatnot in the past, but how do you guys feel about potentially increasing the amount of, you know, at least make it like once a year outside of just the Dragon Ball universe, like collaborative banners and stuff like that?
I would love
crossover,
that.
Please.
I would like the One Piece crossover is so cool. I remember I was around for that, but I was really hoping they would make like a banner or something.
Right.
You know, they could do anything. They could just bring in characters from the other anime. They could do like clothes swap. You know, that would be really cool. All kinds of things. That would be cool. And then it brings people who like the other show into our game and potentially our game into theirs if they're doing a game collab. So it's a win-win.
Right.
You know, I see this as an absolute win.
Yeah. I guess it ultimately comes down to money talks, right? That's probably where it comes down to.
Although I don't know, because like Bandai Namco really has a monopoly on most like shonen, at least like gacha games.
That's
right.
I don't know how they just can't work with themselves, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I played the Shonen Jump Oda collection when it first came out, and you know, it was cool and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I would personally love, like, the thing I loved about that one was you could select like the decade essentially.
Yes,
like based on like how you grew up, how your childhood was. So a lot of it was nostalgic, but yeah, having crossovers with other, you know, Shonen Jump type deals, that would be pretty amazing. Like, honestly, I would love to see like stuff from Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross and have like X/ and all that kind of crazy stuff on there. But I don't know how that would work with, you know, Dragon Ball and Dokkan Battle necessarily, though.
Right, and then they have to think about global too, you know.
Yeah. So how does that work? So I know they have like different copyrights and trademarks, setups and whatnot. So I know like Dragon Ball Heroes, right, was for the longest time not introduced on global, and that was, from what I've heard, a lot to do with trademark or copyrights or whatnot. So how is all that set up between, you know, JP and North America? Like that's something I never really investigated enough to understand it.
I mean, I think part of it was copyright, but also another thing, just with Dragon Ball Heroes specifically, right? The other thing to keep in mind is that technically, like, obviously we know what's going on across the side of the world. We have the internet, but technically in like in English audience's eyes, the Dragon Ball Heroes moniker has never been introduced in anything in the West, right? We didn't have the arcade game. They obviously didn't sell packs. There wasn't any games until, of course, World Mission came along. And once World Mission came along, right, then Dragon Ball Heroes, the title, right, was dropped, and a product or game, whatever, you know, with that name was in the eyes of Western audiences, so then they can kind of use it to capitalize on it. So I do think it's copyright, but it's also partially that too.
Yeah, that does make sense. I definitely hear what you're saying.
It's like, I don't know. It's like if they, I don't know. I can't think of another good example. Like, I mean, I guess there has been a couple, but it'd be like if they tried to bring like if JP had a Kamen Rider crossover with like the newest Kamen Rider franchise, and you know, then they tried to bring it to global.
Right, before you go in there, I would love that to happen. Honestly, I
grew up
with that in Japan. You know, Black. All right, so my favorite is Kamen Rider Black RX.
Yeah,
I was gonna go ahead and lay it out there.
Dang, yeah, that's cool. But like that would be sick. But unfortunately, like, for Western audiences, there's only been, I think, 2. I know Kamen Rider Ryuki, which became Dragon Knight. We don't talk about that. And what was the other one? There was another one, I think, that came to the West at some point. But, like, you know, they couldn't do that just because the Western audience doesn't have any exposure to the title, you know.
See, so, that's why that's why that gets rebranded as a Power Rangers crossover.
I mean, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I reached when you're
I gotcha.
That's definitely an interesting point, though. You do raise some very good topics with that. So I definitely see that.
Yeah, trust me. I wish there was more Dragon Ball Heroes over here, because boy, I love it. But I mean, and also with that one, before we move on to the next question, the other thing too that Dragon Ball Heroes was introduced in as well, though very limited. I don't know if you heard about the Dragon Ball Adventure like convention. At different cons, like Dragon Ball, I guess, is just a franchise, had like a specific area and like booths and stuff at different cons over the summers.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and they had a test drive for some actual Dragon Ball Heroes arcade machines before World Mission came out, where they gave you some cards that you could only use during the event, and then like while you're playing the game, and then they gave you a card that you could take home as well. And then you got to try the game, right, with the actual cards like it is in Japan. And then obviously you give back the cards that you borrow, and then you get to keep the one card, and you get to try out the game. So another, I guess just example of it being exposed. And I think more so, now looking back on it, that was probably to see if people would like World Mission, obviously, because we don't have the arcade games, and arcades are a lot more popular in Japan than they are over here, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's different. It's crazy how different of a cultural differences there is when it comes to arcades. Honestly, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, you can say that again. It honestly makes me a little bit sad because I love arcades. There's a few near me. I'm lucky enough to live within driving distance of a few of them, but
right.
Obviously, it's nothing. Well, to be fair, I guess the arcades that I do live by are pretty good. I live in like Chicago, so
yeah. I was gonna say, like, based on that and like all the stores that are around you, I assumed you were in a pretty major, city in the U.S. So.
Yeah, I'm around there, so it's a lot easier for me to find something. There's a couple places around me that even have some like imported Japanese arcade games that are just like in Japanese, which is really cool.
Wow.
Right.
But like, Dragon Ball Heroes 2 is a little bit of a different beast, because you got to think as well, like arcades, I'm sure there might be some like this in Japan, but of course they work a little bit different here. Like, here, you think of like GameWorks and Dave and Buster's, right? Like you get like the points on the card, and then when you want to play the arcade game, you swipe it in the arcade, and then you get like, points deducted, and then however many rests you have, you can play more games or whatever. But obviously with Dragon Ball Heroes, right, you're inserting money for every play and then receiving a card every play. So the only thing that I've ever experienced like that myself, they had a Yu-Gi-Oh arcade game that was in this one card shop that was local. Unfortunately, it's not active anymore, but it was literally the same thing. You put in $1, you got a Yu-Gi-Oh card, you could use it in the arcade game.
Nice.
But, it's just like, I think as well, that sort of just fashion, even so, just like inserting physical money is even just not as common here, because obviously a lot of people just carry their money on like credit or debit and don't even carry cash, right? So
yeah.
I mean, granted, at an arcade you could have a machine that gives you cash, I suppose, but I digress. It's just like you said, a different culture.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know most arcades used cards now. I thought it was still coins.
Some
my
do.
rock is looking nice right now.
I mean, some do. A lot of older arcades, at least that I've been to, I don't know. I suppose my knowledge is limited to what I know. I mean, human, I guess. But like, older arcades.
Yeah, I guess in the U.S. culture, I mean, it just seems like, or maybe this applies to the other Western countries too, but under my own impression, it's almost like there's such a huge gap of what the arcades represent in the U.S. Either it's for kids or you leapfrog into like adults that want to get hammered and play games, or whatever, like Busters or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, 100%.
So there's no middle ground. You know what I mean? Like, but whereas in Japan, like, it was kind of like that, where you had all ranges. Obviously, a lot of adults still play it, and a lot of kids still play it, but. I don't know. A lot of it probably comes down to regulation. I ain't gonna lie to you. When I was living in Japan as a 6th grader, I was doing I snuck up to the 2nd floor where only adults were allowed, and I was betting on horses and whatever. You know what I mean? So regulatory standpoint, it might be different, but I don't know.
That's pretty funny. They let you do that?
I mean, they didn't care. I mean, all right. I don't know if this is like material I should be talking about necessarily.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, I would go to the store, right? And like literally, I'm like 12, and I would just go buy alcohol and be like, "This is for my pops," and they would sell it to me. I mean, the U.S. was the U.S. was kind of like that back in the day too, I guess, in a way. Yeah. But I don't know. It almost seems like it's, and maybe a lot of stuff has changed since I've lived there. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's almost like it was indifferent in a way, how people treated certain things, and oddly enough, there were a lot of things they treated as taboo that necessarily shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? So it's the difference in culture, I guess, really.
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. 100%. Yeah. I'm glad you appreciate arcades as much as I do.
Yeah, I wish there were more nearby. Like, I know we have one, nearby where we're at. It's more of a bar, and they have old retro systems that you could play,
Ooh, that's dope.
while you're drinking, stuff like that. That's kind of been the trend, lately, it seems like. But outside of, arcades, I mean, you're lucky to have a Dave and Buster's, and I don't even go to that, even though it's close by. It's just like the type of games they have is not the type of stuff I want to play necessarily.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why that one arcade that has like a lot of imported arcades and stuff too. And not only that, they have like, some like actual fighting game. Like obviously Tekken is for like every system under the sun, but they have like, the Tekken arcade game, so on and so forth. You get the point. So, demographic.
I hear you. Yeah.
The rain apparently too is sorry, that just like literally it sounded like someone just threw a bucket of water on my window. Anyway, go ahead, keep on. Go ahead and ask the next question. I'm sorry, viewers or listeners, I suppose, if you can hear that, but
hey, this is yours. Don't put it on me.
It is? Oh well, my bad. Then all right, I'll keep talking. That's fine. So
I need a break. It's fine.
Speaking of games, I know you play one because you did mention a little bit earlier. But do you play any other gacha games?
Was it gacha games you said?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, they cut out.
Discord broke there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of static. I don't know if it's on my end, but I think it's fine right now. But gacha games, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and it's funny because I think I talked to Honton and Sir Loaf of Bread about this not too long ago, but like it's difficult managing two games for me, honestly, on a mobile basis. So I have currently Dokkan Battle and Fist of the North Star, and that's my absolute limit. And Fist of the North Star, I really play maybe an hour a day just to get the daily stuff done. But outside of that, I don't really play much. And that's really my limit. So honestly, I don't have the capacity to play any other gacha games, honestly. I've played some in the past, maybe briefly here or there, but nothing really stuck like Dokkan Battle has, and we'll see. The jury's still out for Fist of the North Star, honestly, but I'm okay with one game and dedicating my time to one game now. Honestly, I think that's fine for me. So
Fair enough. Besides Seven Deadly Sins, what else have you played in the past?
So I've actually tested a lot of different type of mobile games that are based on the gacha system. So like I played some horse, racing thoroughbred as a simulation. That was kind of like my thing back in the day. Where I don't know if you guys ever heard of a game called Derby Stallion back in the day. It's basically you're a horse breeder and you're raising horses and you're racing them. You're basically breeding them. And honestly, horse racing is really big in Japan, like gambling wise. There's all kinds of crazy stuff over there. But that was something I really enjoyed, and they had a mobile game based on that system, and I played it maybe a couple months. Cool. The other one I played is like Winning 11, which is I guess Pro Evolution Soccer. A lot of the games I like to play outside of Dokkan Battle are based on simulation games, right? So that's one of them, and there was another one. A lot of it's nostalgic, but it's called Jikyo Power Pro, I guess is the direct translation. It's a baseball game in Japan, but it looks like a bunch of Lego figures, basically. The characters. Oh, cool. But that's something I played too. But nothing really stuck. Honestly, I would play maybe a month or two and just go back to Dokkan Battle. Honestly,
Gotcha.
A lot of times, it's a distraction from playing Dokkan Battle every day. I look for something. That's really what it is.
I got
just a step away,
letting the stamina refill, as it were.
Exactly. You get burned out on it, you need a different game to play, and that's pretty much the sole purpose of a lot of how these games work for me.
I gotcha.
Fair enough.
What may I ask then, like especially with the horse racing one, because it sounded like obviously since that's very ingrained in your childhood, especially, what made you drop them then? Just kind of like generally.
Okay, so honestly, it came down to the fact that some of it was due to the fact that it was taking time away from Dokkan Battle. And obviously, when your channel's content is mainly based on Dokkan Battle, that can't happen. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of it was derived from that result. And a lot of times it was just simply that it didn't have the, longevity like Dokkan Battle does.
Right. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, some games, like I used to play Pokemon Duel. It was a what game is it similar to? Oh no, there's another game that I always compare it to. It's like a board game though, and it's like a gacha game. Like you summon for like pieces, and it's different Pokemon. But recently the game, or actually recently, I think it's actually soon. Or maybe it already happened. I don't remember. I dropped the game a little while ago, but I was very invested in it at one point, and unfortunately, like I said, it's shutting down. So longevity is definitely, a factor because, like, especially if you're putting money into the game. I'd say gacha game wise, most Dragon Ball games are probably a pretty safe investment because obviously it's got the support of every Dragon Ball fan around the world and Bandai, being the monopoly they are.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think in terms of longevity of Dokkan Battle itself, I think there's quite a few years ahead of us. Honestly, I don't think it's going out anytime soon. And even if it does, maybe the popularity might dip a little bit over time, but it's not going anywhere for any time soon. I think.
I don't
5
think
years
so.
and still going strong.
I don't know. Those numbers don't lie.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? People don't realize the scope of how good or how popular that game is. Like, we expect hitting the number one in the App Store on a regular basis now. But if you think about it from a macro perspective, right, you're actually seeing that Dragon Ball game as a Dragon Ball series number one out of all the paid top grossing games. That's a big deal, like Dragon Ball. You would imagine Dragon Ball is such a niche market, but when you see that take over number one on multiple countries, whatever, that
always
puts it
in
in
France.
perspective. What's that?
Always in France.
Always top
Oh yeah. They're crazy over there about that.
No, definitely. I mean, that's also like there's also something to say for just the fact that like it's a licensed property game because like it's kind of, I mean, I suppose mobile games are a little bit different than like console games, but our console games are kind of notorious when it comes to anime for obviously not really being in the same even realm of like competing with some of the first party big rig type of titles. And even games like that are kind of like an original property, like, I mean, Candy Crush is probably an obvious pretty big one, right? Or like other games that you would think, make a lot of money in terms of grossing. It is also quite impressive that it is just a franchise-based game that is able to make its way to the top because, typically that's not always the case.
And Blizzard made sure to jump up on acquiring that Candy Crush company a few years ago. I remember I was I was interviewed by Blizzard for a finance position several years ago, and I had to look at the annual investor report, study up the material and all that. I was reading through the the acquisition costs and all that stuff, and it was actually quite interesting. I think it was back in like 2013 or something when the acquisition occurred, or maybe my memory, if it serves correctly, maybe it was the case. But yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean, you have certain game changers and unique type of style that comes out and takes over the world by storm. And I think Dokkan Battle in a lot of ways did that.
That's true. I vaguely remember King being bought by a company, but I don't remember it being Blizzard. That's interesting.
Yeah, I swear I'm like almost positive it was the company that owned the properties for Candy Crush, and it was like during that peak period back in, I think it was 2013. I don't know. Maybe we need to Google it. So, tell your audience is incorrect data if it isn't.
Let's see.
You know what?
let me look it up real quick. But yeah, keep going.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, it was very interesting to see how the landscape, from a business standpoint, also changes based on introduction of new things, and Dokkan Battle, fortunately, is from a developer, Akatsuki, obviously, but the major decision maker is Bandai, right? So Namco Bandai, whatever. So you have the backing of a solid company behind it. So I think a lot of the strong foundation was built on that. So I think in that regard, the lifespan of Dokkan Battle is probably a lot longer just due to the fact that you have a better backing and foundation, probably.
Interesting. Well, from what I'm seeing here, it looks that Activision Blizzard bought King for $5.9 billion.
Yeah, it was a pretty big number.
That's crazy.
That is a pretty big number.
I mean, it is a huge. Candy Crush is disgusting, but anyway, we won't get into that.
This is a Dokkan stream, not a Candy Crush stream.
Right, you don't want to bore people with financial numbers and statistics, anyhow, right?
Yeah, I suppose I enjoy it.
Gameplay.
Yeah, oh yeah, Candy Crush. Well, I mean, we can't say anything about Candy Crush's gameplay concerning what we play, but
Candy Crush with buff guys with blonde hair. Yeah.
Yikes. Anyway,
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys, I've never played it. We'll leave it at that. So
I mean, neither have
I. I don't know if I ever did. I might have played it one. Anyway, I think I played another version of it. You know, there's 5 billion.
I think it's probably a bunch of young kids and old people that play that. That's probably what that demographic is, honestly.
Yeah,
like Farm Bill was in Facebook a long time ago, something that.
Oh yeah, dude, Bejeweled, that's the way to go. Anyway,
yeah, that's a good one.
Candy Crush clone preference aside, we're gonna move on to some Dragon Ball related.
Yeah,
all right, let's get back on track, shall we?
All right, so how long have you been a Dragon Ball fan?
All right, so how long have I been a fan? All right,
yeah,
probably, I don't know, specific age wise. You know, I don't know. The biggest memory I have is, I'd say like 7 or 8. I was obviously watching it before then, but early childhood, right? So up until 5, I was living in the Tokyo metropolitan area, and then I moved stateside because of my dad's job, and he had an engineering background and all that. We won't get into all the details, but yeah. So I remember, back then, that wasn't really, Dragon Ball wasn't necessarily that popular, and they finally had it early in the morning on Saturdays or something like that. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning or something, and that was like right before I moved back to Japan. I remember the original Dragon Ball Saga anime was coming on TV, and that's when you knew things were kind of catching on, I guess, in a way. I don't know, maybe I was just lacking perspective because I was such a young kid at the time. Maybe it was already popular, I don't know, but I remember going to the Japanese bookstores in the city where I was at. They actually had a pretty big Japanese population. Like, I went to the Japanese Saturday school and all that on the weekends or whatever, so they had bookstores that were dedicated to Japanese material. So I remember going in there, and I remember seeing the Goku Ginyu artwork on whatever volume number it was, and begging my dad to buy it, and honestly, I think at a very early age, I mean, it's just been a part of my life, and come to find out, like, I have a YouTube channel later on related to Dragon Ball. It's pretty insane, but yeah, I mean, it's been a lifelong kind of journey, and I think a lot of people probably share that same experience, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Do you still have that volume?
So I pretty much have the entire series. I don't have the original. I don't have the original that was bought that time, but
gotcha.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the case. I do have like some of the older stuff. Like I have like all the Fist of North Star stuff that I bought when I was like 12. Stuff like that. It was like,
that's cool.
You're probably familiar, like, with it's called the Bunkoban, which is like the Bunko edition. It's like the compressed version where it's a reprint where they have 3 volumes. They have 3 volumes essentially into one. So that's I have like I think it was a total of 15, and I've got the original Dragon Ball manga, the original volumes. I mean, just because if you're gonna get it, you might as well get the originals. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a big part of my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, honestly, as corny as that sounds.
I mean, no, that's awesome. I will say, if you really do have stuff from back then, you should make a video about it. I mean, I'm not saying that I would definitely watch it, but I mean,
clown.
yeah, maybe I need to switch it up sometime and cover stuff like that.
I mean, that's coming from the guy who does figure videos weekly, so that's just me. But anyway, moving on though, related to Dragon Ball, what is your favorite transformation in the series and your favorite character? They don't have to be from the same.
All right. Yeah, this is a highly subjective one, so let's think about this one, right? All right, so what was it? Favorite transformation and favorite character, right?
Yeah.
Okay, favorite transformation. I think, honestly, let's think about this though, because there's so many good ones, right? And I'm trying to think of what comes to mind first. And honestly, the first one that comes to mind is It's one of those, like, I don't know, it's almost like a cop out, but I'll tell you why this is the case here in a second. But probably Vegeta, honestly, it's probably that fusion transformation. If we can, we can get technical with all this stuff, whether it's a transformation or not, whatever. But if I had to pick one and it falls in that criteria, it would be Vegeta, because simply I was around the age where you're aware enough to fully understand some of the stuff, right? What's going on in the manga and stuff. And to me, that was so badass, honestly. You know what I mean? That whole series. And like, I think last December, I got a shipment from Japan that Social Fire ended up getting me, and it's the card, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is. Kadodas. How do you pronounce that in English? You know what I mean?
I think it's. Is it just card?
It's like card ASS, right? Like, I don't know how to pronounce that. You know what I mean?
It's just cardas, or I think it just is. Yeah.
So basically, it's this one card I remember getting when I was like 11 or whatever, right? And it's Vegeta with the Spirit Sword taunting Boo, like, I wish you would try harder or something like that, right? And it was one of those cards. I actually traveled back to Japan several years ago to look for it at a very specific store in Akihabara, right? And I couldn't find it, so I gave up. But they came out with this revival collection, special edition stuff, and I was like, I got to get that, right? And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a flashback to my childhood. A lot of it's nostalgic, but because of how how much of an impact it had when I was a kid, I think that's probably what I would classify if we can as a transformation. That's what I would say.
We'll take it. You justified it well enough to give it the stamp of approval.
I think that's the thing too, right? And I like to stay out of the technicalities of what considers what. You know what I mean? Like, people tend to get really technical sometimes, and I think with such a subjective conversation like that, I think it's up to each individual to kind of figure out what that defines. So I don't know. Outside of that, I don't know. Like, trying to think. There's quite a few, but I want to pick one that actually has meaning to it, not just, from a popularity standpoint.
I think your Vegito argument is good. And plus, think about it this way. Vegito is a transformation unit in Dokkan, so he does count.
Yeah, I guess you got a point there.
Got him.
What about character? You have a favorite character?
The favorite character, honestly, Piccolo, right? Because he's level-headed, he keeps it real. He doesn't mess around. He keeps it 100. That's what I like about the guy.
And he's Piccolo.
What's that?
I think you're the first person to say Piccolo on all our interviews.
Really? Yeah. All right, so from a villain standpoint, right, I love the level-headed, always cool, type of character, right? That's why I love Perfect Cell so much. Before he loses his mind later on, when he realizes he's messing with the wrong guy or whatever, like he's level-headed, he has that cool, taunting vibe to him, right? And that's the type of villain I love. Like, if I give you an example, right, from a movie standpoint, my favorite villain is Hans Gruber from Die Hard, because he's that intellectual, cool, calm, and collected type villain. That's the types of guys I like. That's the types of guys I try, to aspire to be, basically. So
interesting. A
lot of it, Piccolo's perspective for me, that's pretty much what it is. Like, I love the sarcastic undertones that he brings, and whatnot, So, honestly, I love Piccolo a lot. He's been one of my favorite characters in the series.
That's awesome. I don't think we've gotten a Piccolo before.
So what's the usual choices?
Well,
let's flip it around. What are your guys' favorite characters?
I knew this was coming.
My man is on it with these. Yeah. All right. Favorite character? Oh, this is hard. I go back and forth all the time. I'm a big fan of Bardock. He's definitely up there.
Yeah, he's definitely a good one.
Oh yeah. It kind of stinks because obviously he was so short-lived originally, and then obviously the Broly movie kind of expanded on him a little bit. But
yeah.
I don't know. I really like Bardock's character because it's like he's not really a good guy. Kind of. Right. He's good to his family and he's good to his son, but of course, he was being used by Frieza, I suppose. But he obviously
he did what he could, given the circumstances.
Right. And then, I guess moving forward, he did kind of, improve, just like he became a little bit more human, obviously with the special where he fought Chilled, right? He protected the people who, of course, helped him recuperate. And then technically he's the first Super Saiyan. That's still, I guess, up for debate, but
it's crazy how the timelines get mixed up a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, no idea. But I think by like him going back in time, technically, anyway, it's still cool.
Let's just blame Trunks.
Yeah, thank you, Trunks. Funny enough, Piccolo is one of my favorites too.
Well, thank God we have somebody we can finally agree on, right?
I mean, an easy answer too that's up there is Goku. I mean, how can you not like Goku?
Yeah. No, that's definitely true.
Yeah. I would probably I guess I'd pick Bardock if it was probably an impulse answer. Transformation though, easy. Super Saiyan 3. I love the long hair. I love obviously Super Saiyan 2 has that little bit of electricity look, but because it's not only menacing, but it's also so goofy at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm
sure out of the manga when you see that strip, right? Once the transformation took place, it was pretty iconic. So I agree with you on that one.
Oh yeah, and then of course in the anime as well, like every variation of the Super Saiyan 3 scream is absolutely fantastic. Dub, sub, it's all so good. And then like even both the scores, because people always debate about the music or whatever, but even both, I think it's just a fantastic moment in every variation of it. And then of course, like the Fusion Reborn is one of my favorite movies, so obviously that fight with Janemba is like, it's so good. But yeah, no, I love Super Saiyan 3, and then that ties in well to Bardock, because obviously in Dragon Ball Heroes, my man's constantly whipping out the long hair, so works out well for me.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Vaughn?
So obviously one of my favorite characters is Boo, just because he is my icon, but it has to go to Frieza. I love Frieza.
Yeah.
I love my monkey-hating alien.
He does.
He's a good villain. Wait, go ahead.
Right.
Wait, what were you saying?
He definitely represents, like, the fact that you hate him so much represents how good he was actually written,
Right.
Yeah. Like, seeing him in the Tournament of Power, like he had such ulterior motives in the end, but he still came through, and I like that. Like, I like how he's a villain still, but he's he kind of he respects Goku and Vegeta, but still despises them despite that.
Another thing, right, is like I could totally see Frieza being petty, like wishing for what he did in the movie. You know what I mean? Like such trifling, immaterial stuff. Like I could see him being that petty too. So that's kind of funny too.
No, I love that so much about it. Like, because I love that too, that like in the Tournament of Power, he was like not friends with them, but of course like working with them for his motives. Yeah. And then literally he's right back on his BS in the Broly movie, coming down. He's like, all right, I have someone for you to fight. Go.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite transformation though. It's funny because back on Frieza, I love Final Form Cooler. He's by far one of my favorite transformations.
Oh my god, I can't believe I just forgot about that. That was definitely one of my top two. Just the quote too after that, the mouth guard comes up.
Yeah.
God damn.
I'm so a firm believer of Final Form Cooler without the mouth guard. It's pretty cursed.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Well, lucky for you, Legends is getting that art. So.
Stop.
Dokkan isn't though. That's what's safe.
I'm glad you brought that up. I had completely forgotten about that. So if we're being technical, honestly, and excluding Vegito outside of this conversation, it would probably. I agree with you. I think it'll be Final Form Cooler.
Hey, there you go. Awesome.
All right. Let me go back to the questions I got off topic here.
Nah, you're good. It's all good. It's okay. That's what the podcast is all about. Diving deeper into the questions.
All right. So, would you say is your favorite Dragon Ball movie?
Favorite Dragon Ball movie, and this is, look, a lot of this stuff is based on nostalgia, honestly, and you basically become biased and tunnel. You have tunnel vision based on just how you grew up with your childhood. So, with that being said, I think what is it? I don't know what I don't know what the formal title is in English, but the Android 13 movie.
I forgot what it's actually called.
I can double check.
Like legendary, I don't know, that or the Broly, right? The legendary Super Saiyan Broly, whatever movie title it was. But a lot of that is driven by nostalgia, right? I remember being a kid going to visit my grandparents, and I was out in the movies or whatever. And I remember going there, and as a kid, and seeing the opening where Android 17 kills Dr. Jin-roh, right? And you see the blood splatter and leaking into the basement or whatever. Like, as a kid watching that was pretty crazy, you know what I mean? And I mean, they made the Super Saiyans look really cool as a kid, you know? So a lot of that's driven by nostalgia, honestly. That's probably, you know, one of those reasons. The reason why Broly, the original Broly movie, right, why it's so one of my favorites is based on quotes and dialogue. Honestly, the quotes that were given by Broly in Japanese, you know, like the favorite one, like this is probably my favorite quote from the entire existence of Dragon Ball is Kakaroto Kisama no Mazu Kisama kara no Chimatsuri. You know what I mean? Like, that quote is like direct translation, loosely translated would be like, you know, Kakarot, the bloodbath will begin with you, or something like that. Right? That is such a exact perfect quote of something he would say, you know, and it's so iconic.
That fits the Broly perfectly.
Yeah. So a lot of it's driven by dialogue, honestly, more so than anything, you know, in that movie anyways.
I've never heard anyone bring up dialogue, even in just like conversations outside the podcast. I love it though. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just, when it comes to watching movies, a lot of it's, you know, a lot of my interests and films I love are based on interactions with characters. You know, I like, I'll give you an example, right? Like Scarface, the film, right? A lot of people watch it because of that one scene, right? And to me, it's like one of the worst scenes in the movie. A lot of it's based on, what I love about it's based on the dialogue throughout the movie, you know?
Interesting.
You know, like, I can't quote, you know, the stuff on there, obvious reasons, but But basically, one of my favorites in that movie was talking about, you know, what the city of Miami is like, the analogy of that, you know what I mean, like stuff like that. Basically, is very funny to me, and something that we as guys would talk about, joking around and stuff like that.
Right.
So, you know, back to the Broly stuff. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was based on, you know, the transformation. First of all, was really cool as a kid. You know, a lot of it was based on, you know, the quotes too, you know. And I'm going to go ahead and put this out there while we're at it. And, you know, I'm probably going to get hate for this, but I'm just going to put this out there anyway. I lost a lot of respect for Vegeta as a kid when I saw that film. I was going to say that.
The movie, I can agree with that. I can understand.
I don't necessarily hate him, but his brownie points went into the negatives after that film as a kid. I was like, you know, it's like I didn't go to the extent of throwing away the toys of action figures of Vegeta or anything after leaving the movie or anything. But, you know, I mean, yeah, it was a little bit, and I think it's been building back up since then. And over the course of time, I think, you know, I've developed much better liking for him, but. You know, a lot of it is based on that too, and then also the fact that, you know, I don't know if this was actually backed up as evidence or fact or validated from Toriyama Akira himself, but a lot of the character developments, Vegeta represented the elite society in Japan during the 80s and 90s, and ones that would look down upon, you know, the common folk, which Goku represented. So, he, you know, supposedly he wrote the character exactly that way to represent his hatred for the elite class that get a fast track into the elite, you know, best schools, best colleges, get connections, networks into the best, you know, workforce, you know, environments, whatever. So I don't know if that's actually validated as fact, but, you know, I can see why I didn't like him for a little while, you know, but who knows if that's true or not.
Interesting. That's like what is it? Frieza's based off of, it's another thing in Japan, not land sharks. That's not what it's called.
I think that actually, so Frieza represented, if it's the same theory we're talking about, he represented like the real estate conglomerates, something like that.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. By the way, I did look it up. Android 13 is literally just called Dragon Ball Z Super Android 13.
They just didn't bother with that title.
Very original. And then Dragon Ball Z is just Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan.
Right, okay. I got you. I can't remember what the Japanese title was, but I'm sure it's something similar.
I think one of the translations is like Ultra Fight, something like that.
Well, according to Wikipedia, which I don't know how valuable this is, but Dragon Ball Z Burn Up, a close fight, a valiant fight, a super fierce fight.
That
interesting.
Is
I thought one of them was like the plan to eradicate Super Saiyans. Or something.
That's
something.
That's a different movie. That's with
Hachiyak, was it?
Yes, I believe
that
was the Hachiyak movie.
Yeah.
Also the
shout out to Rainbow Free to Play Hachiyak, by the way.
Hey, awaken him, please.
I hope so.
I hope so too. But yeah, Super Ranger 13 is Extreme Battle, the 3 Great Super Saiyans, which has nothing to do with 13.
Yeah, well, it's because of, Trunks, Vegeta, and Goku, like, all transforming at the same time, and Krillin's like, or somebody was like, oh, snap, type deal, probably.
Right. Still weird, though, like they...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Either way, though, moving on, we do have another Dragon Ball property, and it doesn't have to be Dokkan. What's your favorite Dragon Ball game?
Favorite Dragon Ball game, right? Okay, so I'm going to be 100% transparent here and say that there hasn't been really one that I've stuck to a lot, like dedicated, played like throughout 0 to 100 or whatever. I think Dokkan Battle is actually the first one that I actually played through. A lot of it's based on just, I don't know, for me, I guess availability. Just growing up as a kid, like I didn't really play much video games, and what I did, it was very specific outside of Dragon Ball. But probably the game that comes to mind that I played a lot, somewhat, that I vaguely remember is I think Tenkaichi 2. I think is the one that I played a lot. Like I'm not 100% on the validity of that, but I don't even remember.
Interesting. I mean, yeah,
I know there was like there was like the Game Boy version of the game. One of them I played as a kid, but honestly, it's been so long. And second of all, like there wasn't. Like I wasn't the type of guy that I loved Dragon Ball, but I didn't play most of the games. That's kind of like probably the best explanation for it.
Gotcha. Just a Dragon Ball fan for fun.
Yeah, I guess in a way. I mean, honestly, at the time growing up, I mean, I was playing Tekken, King of Fighters, all the Final Fantasy crap, and I don't know, Resident Evil and Dino Crisis, all that good stuff. So like, I don't know. I guess I didn't have time for Dragon Ball, or they just simply didn't sell it where I was at. I don't know.
I got you. Interesting. All right. Well, this will be interesting considering what we know already.
Speaking of more Dragon Ball. All right, so we need your tier list. Where do you rank?
Oh my god, I hate this stuff, man.
All right, so where do you rank it? Where do you rank Dragon Ball Z, Super, and GT?
All right. Okay.
For the sake of it, just like, because obviously the manga is just all Dragon Ball, but just like how the anime separates Dragon Ball and Z,
right. I'm going to give my honest answer on this, all right? I'm going to go ahead and say that, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, so maybe depending on the feedback, I might tell you to delete this video later.
No, it's fine. We're all a loving community.
Okay, so, all right, so what? The options were Dragon Ball Z, GT, and Super, right? That's how the... Or are we including Dragon Ball Saga or not?
So like,
if you want, depends your opinion. If you like it better than if you like Kid Goku's Adventures more than Z Goku, it's just your opinion.
I mean, I'd rather be lumped under Dragon Ball Z, so I'm
go ahead.
I'm fine with that. So,
right, so
my honest answer, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there, and I'm gonna say a lot of it's based on nostalgia too. Dragon Ball Z, GT, and then Super.
Ooh.
Wow.
Super above GT above Super. That's
so OG, Z, GT, and Super. Well,
I'm just saying, a lot of childhood was spent around that GT era, and a lot of it's down to nostalgia. I mean, I collected so many cards. I would go, I was in Japan at the time, so I would go whenever I had a chance to, go to the store with my parents. I would slip in whatever change I had to get like the cards and stuff. And I remember I had like the gold-plated like Super Baby card, and that was my proudest card I had in my collection. I remember my mom got so pissed that I wasn't studying or whatever. She tossed my entire binder in the trash can and dumped like leftover curry all over it to where it was like ruined. So I had to give it up, and I had so many good cards in that. So a lot of that tier listing is dependent on just childhood memories. That's it. That's really it.
Fine. That's fine.
That's fair.
but it's an unpopular opinion that'll be heated, I'm sure. But I gotta be honest,
Your opinion's wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Me and Theo here haven't watched. So
yeah, we haven't watched GT. We're actually not while recording this, but in the midst of recording this, we are currently on a journey through all of Dragon Ball. We're watching Dragon Ball Z Super and GT, all of it from episode 1 of Dragon Ball. So we have not seen GT yet, so we'll get back to you on that after after we
and honestly I haven't either in a long time, so maybe I'll go back and watch it and think it's complete trash too. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I got you.
But it's based on
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lot of it's based on memories. It's
Right.
Sometimes memories are bad data. You know what I mean? So.
No, I was just gonna say, like, sometimes too you just don't want to rewatch it because it's like, I don't want to break the nostalgia.
I think I agree. I think a lot of it's based on that. I probably stayed away up until now just because I didn't want to. What's the right word I'm looking at? Poison my childhood or something.
Poison your childhood. Going back in time, poisoning yourself.
No poisoning the water hole.
Yeah. Thank you, Woody. All right. Well, speaking of the anime, and this is an interesting question considering your tier list. What do you think the direction, or what do you think of the direction the series is going?
Okay, so I've only been up to date in terms of what was occurring last year, right? So all the manga and stuff, I haven't even read any of that.
Right. I just mean anime wise. Manga, that's okay.
We're not.
So
we're no Super
strictly
Mario.
speaking of anime wise, I mean, so let me think about this, because honestly, like, if I'm being 100% honest, right, and I'm just gonna be 100% transparent, and like, I don't want to lie about it, so I'm gonna say some things that might trigger some people, right? When I first started playing Dokkan Battle, I didn't even watch Super because I thought initially that stuff was garbage. I mean, to me, like, I thought the hair turning blue was the corniest thing ever. I was like, man, it's ruining the franchise, the series. I don't know. I thought it was really corny, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew about characters in Dokkan Battle, and that's it. I didn't know anything about how they became what they are, whatever, like new characters and all that. And then at some point, I guess Social Fire was like, you need to watch this. If you're doing YouTube, like, you got to watch this stuff or something. I don't remember exactly.
That is true.
I ended up watching it, and it was interesting. Like, the one thing that I loved was I really love the Arale unit, right? Arale character, because of the throwback. Like, Penguin Village was probably one of my favorite sections in the manga, right? Like, it was just so good. Such a throwback, because Dr. Slump was actually pretty fun to read too. But with that being said, like, that was pretty cool, and like, direction wise, I can't really give much. I mean, I don't have the same attachment as I do with Super that I do with some of the other eras or whatever. So
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like my personal answer to that is I'm open to anything. At the same time, I'm gonna be kind of like taking it in from an outside perspective in a way. That's probably the best way to answer that, honestly. Like, I'm gonna reserve my judgment until I see it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Interesting. What about then Broly, though? I'm assuming you've seen the movie, yeah?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet. No, just kidding. I've seen it.
I mean,
You're like, Nani?
That's a good question, honestly, because it's almost like I wouldn't say mixed bags necessarily. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it when I saw it for the first time. Honestly, I hated the fact that I had to watch the dub version because I wanted to see the original, audio version, right? And honestly, the dub version was fine. Like, it didn't seem that weird to watch it in that scenario, but
Yeah.
at the same time, everything I watch is original Japanese audio. That's just how I prefer to watch it.
Right.
A lot
Fair
of it's
enough.
based on growing up that way. But with that being said, I mean, I think they did a pretty good job of blending in the nostalgia and throwbacks and making sure, like, all of us that grew up on that was happy about it. At the same time, providing a different, layer or element, behind it. So, I think it was good. I think I was satisfied.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. What about the animation?
So I think the only thing I didn't like about that movie was like the transitioning to the different portal dimension or whatever that was. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, for me, I didn't, it just kind of didn't appeal to me. I think it was just kind of busy, honestly. But outside of that, visualization wise, I thought it was really good. I thought there was a lot of eye candy. It looked visually good. The opening sequence was probably one of the best, you know, with the Bardock section, right? Like it was probably one of the best areas in the entire film. You know, it was kind of a nice tribute and throwback to, you know, fans of us that have been around for a little while. You know, so that's probably my take on it.
Cool. I like it.
So just to add a little thing on here, since you mentioned that one of your favorite movies, the OG Broly movie, who do you like better, OG Broly or New Broly?
Okay, so the quick answer to this is I like the OG one, just because that represented just the vile, purely aggression, you know, pure berserk. Like that, there's no better character that represented the word berserk, in my opinion.
What about Kale?
We're not gonna go into that stuff. I mean, you know, I don't necessarily dislike her. At the same time, it just seemed a little bit like a duplication process in a way. But you know, it's all good. Like, you know, I'm indifferent, but she ain't no Broly. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not if they just made Broly again.
That's true. Fair point.
Fair enough. I can understand that, especially since you said you were nostalgic with the movie growing up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff is based on bias, and I'll go ahead and admit that, honestly.
We're all biased sometimes. You're good. All right, so shall we move on?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I feel like I already know what's the answer to this, but what's your favorite anime? And it doesn't have to be Dragon Ball.
Okay, favorite anime. So we strictly speaking anime, or can we also include manga into this?
You can include
sure, manga too. Why not?
Okay, so the reason why I say that is, we'll talk about anime first. So, again, a lot of the stuff, I'm going to mispronounce this because I only know the Japanese wording or whatever, so correct me if I'm wrong, and you probably will. So, I like a lot of, when it comes to anime, I like a lot of films, okay? So a lot of these are going to be based on films. So first of all, Japanese is called patoreba, so it's pat labor. Does that sound familiar to you guys at all?
I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Let me try and look it up.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's basically like robotic police forces, basically.
Huh. Like
like
RoboCop type of thing?
Well, it's basically like a mid-sized Gundam in a way.
Oh, okay.
But it's in a realistic, Japanese setting. Basically, it's like I don't know how many feet we're talking about here. Maybe like 25 feet or something like that. I don't know what, but it's small scale enough to where it's a mobile. It's called the mobile police force or something. I don't know, mobile tactics or whatever.
Mobile police.
So the films 1 and 2 from we'll just call it Pat Labor. I guess it's probably mispronounced the hell, but whatever. Those are very good in my opinion. Those have been my favorites, honestly. It's just well written. The plot is good. The character developments are good. Everything's good about it. Honestly, I love it. So I personally recommend that a lot. I think another one, of course, we'll go to the basics like Akira and whatever. We're not going to explain as to why it's good. We already know why, but Spriggan's actually another one I like from, the same artist. The other one's Steam Boy is actually surprisingly pretty good too. But it's one of those, I wouldn't consider it a favorite or anything. But outside of that, if we're talking about manga, there's one called, again, it's called Koko no Hito in Japanese. I don't know, I guess it directly translates to The Climber. It's basically about a high school student that is just kind of a loner, right? Your typical scenario, right? Mm-hmm. And he comes across a dude that's into rock climbing, right? And whatever, they create this friendship or whatever, and that's volume 1 and 2. However, at the end of volume 2, it just changes the whole dynamic. It basically threw you off guard by acting like it was a normal shonen manga type deal, right? Okay. And then just stuff went down after that, and it's never been the same since. So I can tweet to you what it is later, or whatever the case is, and you guys can check it out or whatever. But I highly recommend that because it's more tailored to the older guys, right? Like it's got your, you know, high school setting or whatever, but it brings some, you know, real, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Is it would say the Japanese title again?
it's called Koko no Hito. So if you write it out, it's like KOKOUNOHITO.
So it is literally the climber, or apparently solitary person.
Yeah,
I don't know if it ever caught on in the Western side, but I highly recommend that one. It's very, very good. It's very good.
I mean, from the
2007
wiki
is the
page, it
original
doesn't
one.
seem like it got a. Did it get an official localization? No.
It is. It was in Weekly Young Jump.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's a variation of Shonen Jump. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like the transition, you know, you get your training wheels taken off, and it's like the, you know, equivalent of that, I guess, in a way. They have some more, like, basically the cover, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but like the cover art, they had some, like, I don't know, you know, some chicks on it or something, you know, posing over idols or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about it, but whatever.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah, interesting. I'm gonna be honest. I think what me and Kayvon were both thinking is you were gonna say Fist of the North Star.
Well, I mean, it's an obvious fact that it is. I just didn't think it'd be worth talking about it at this point because
gotcha.
I mean, I could go hours and hours and hours of that conversation alone. Like I actually went through reading the entire series. I think it was like actually last week when I was sick. I needed something to do, and I was like, it's been a while. It's been at least a year, right?
At least a year.
So I went through the entire volumes just in one night. You know, I was like, wow. So, I mean, it's you know, because like a lot of it is also the fact that the new game came out, and it's kind of like, let me just
Refresher, right?
Yeah, let me just get refreshed and reconnected with the characters a little bit, you know, and that's kind of the format with that. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that. I mean, I reread the entire series in one night, and it's only been a year since I last read it, so that probably explains it well enough, I think.
That's awesome. I mean, hey, you know, you always go back to the stuff you love. It's like the same thing with me and with JoJo. Like all the time, like I'll be like, I could go watch some new anime, but I'm just gonna watch JoJo clips on YouTube for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like going to the store and there's like a menu of so many different things, but you always get the same stuff because you know it's good, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know you're not going to be disappointed, basically.
Stick to your guns.
Exactly. Yeah, I respect that. Mad respect. But yeah, moving on from, I suppose, anime specifically, we have some questions about... Halfway there. I know, well, maybe not halfway there. We've been going for a little while, but it's okay. We're having fun.
You know what? I see now why the podcast can be kind of long.
Exactly. We go off on these tangents and have all these other discussions, but that's okay, because they're good discussions.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been... Yeah, it's definitely been enjoyable so far, so it's good.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
I don't mind at all.
Good. The Extreme Z podcast experience. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, starting off then, why did you choose Jin-roh for your online persona name?
And there's not really a cool story behind that, man. Honestly, it's, you know, the nickname has always been Jin for me, and you know, Jin-roh is one of a pretty good film too. It's one of my favorites actually, and I didn't talk about it for a reason because I knew this question was going to come up at some point anyway. So yeah, it's a very good film. It's also done by, you know, Mamoru Oshii, which is, you know, also done for Ghost in the Shell, which is also, you know, one of my favorites as well. But you know, 1 and 2 are exceptional films, and I haven't seen the live action version with Scarlett Johansson for, you know, whatever reasons, but you know, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where the name developed. Ain't no cool story behind it. You know, I wasn't necessarily clever. I had to create a channel, and you know, when you're at that page of creating an account, you have to come up with something immediately. So I was like, whatever, all right, this works. So that's pretty much it.
Fair enough. I mean,
I wish I had a cool story for you. Like, you know, this is based on this part of my life, and you know, I was thinking about this and that and whatever, but nah, it's not like that.
It's fine having a down-to-earth one nowadays.
I mean, my name is literally just Epic, which is a very outdated adjective, and my favorite Pokemon, so I can't judge.
I mean, mine's just a very poor, like, attempt at hiding my name and then adding Sparker to sound cool. That's basically the thought process.
Yeah, I come to realize over doing YouTube over time, it's definitely, the shorter the name, I guess the better, because it's it's kind of like concise in a way. So maybe it worked out. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it did.
I think so. It's definitely pretty. I'd say recognizable. Definitely.
Right. I don't know, not quite to the extent of a name like Epic Mewtwo, Parker, you know what I mean? Like those are pretty, those are like in your face type names. So I'm sure that's a lot more memorable in a way.
Hey, think about it this way: if anybody ever searches up that movie you're talking about, Jin-roh, on YouTube, they'll find your channel.
That's the funny thing, right? Is I get concerned about every now and then because, like, I love, as much as I love the film, I don't want to piss people off that also share the passion of loving that film, and my channel comes across. You know what I mean? Like, I think about that sometimes.
Me, it's the reverse. I'm looking for your channel when I see that.
That's true. That is true. Then you're introducing people to the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess it all works out both ways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Plus, if they like, if they're looking for the movie and they end up liking Dragon Ball and they see your channel, they're like, oh, what's this? So
I guess it all works out. Yeah, you're right.
You never know.
All right. So this is a pretty simple one. What is your reason behind doing YouTube?
Say what?
What is your reason behind doing YouTube?
All right, I'm definitely going to go into that discussion in detail, but let me just message for another drink.
No, you're good.
Another drink. All right, so
more water, right?
Yeah, basically more H2O. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So to give you some color as to the backdrop as to why I did YouTube, and that's the question, right?
Yeah, why you did YouTube?
So I've kind of briefly talked about I work in corporate finance, right? So I've worked in that field or profession or whatever you want to call it for quite a few years. And a couple of years ago, I mean, I was, it's a good career, but it's also very fast paced and demanding based on the time of the month, right? It's basically very time sensitive, and outside of your peak periods, it's a lot of it's based on. Thank you for the water. A lot of it's based on requests that you get from the business units and all that. We won't get technical here, but basically the point being it's fast paced, high stress, peak periods. And the way I compensated for that in the past was I would literally go to the bar every night and have a couple of drinks. And that was during the weekdays, and that's not really sustainable, but it's because of the lifestyle that it was, I had to do that to basically release any stress that I had. Otherwise you would burst out and flip, you know what I mean? So
right.
That's kind of the backdrop behind it. And I was already playing Dokkan Battle for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was watching like the Japanese Dokkan YouTubers or whatever. And that was kind of like how I learned about the game and how I got better at it, over the course of like the first year or so playing. And at that point, I was like, why not test out this pet project of, I have a finance background and my passion is Dokkan Battle. Why don't I just combine the two together and treat this as a pet project where, I could do content on YouTube from like a self-starter business standpoint and just, collect data, do an analysis on projections and budgeting or whatever and kind of build my own little project here. And that's pretty much how it went about. And because of that, I eliminated all the drinking during the week because I was so damn busy. You know what I mean? So with content or whatever. So it was a good distraction. And that's essentially the hobby and distraction that I needed to compensate for the lifestyle of working in corporate finance.
That's amazing. That's wow. That is a story. Listen, that compensated like 3 times over for the lack of a like really in-depth thing about your name. That was great.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, it's, it's funny because I have like Excel models that I've built out just analyzing all the metrics that I can get off of YouTube. And I have like, projections and stuff like that. But, I treat YouTube honestly still as a hobby. And I do what I do during the day, working what I do. And that's the career that I want and maintain. YouTube, I want to treat it and maintain it as a hobby, so I actually continue to enjoy it, and that's kind of like my alter ego in a way. You know what I mean? And if it gets big enough, it gets big enough. You know, and that, you know, the conversation will change at that point. But that's kind of like the philosophy right now, how it goes.
I gotcha. I mean, you are fairly big. I mean, considering the community just as a whole, I would say you are probably on the bigger end.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly getting there, and I'm certainly not undermining and appreciative of it, I guess, and you know, in a lot of ways. So, you know, I do see that. I think from a sustainability standpoint, you know, it definitely has to grow a little bit more, you know, to even discuss or you know talk about that opportunity or path or whatever you want to call it.
Right, I got you. But hey, you're definitely on the way.
What about you, man? I mean, you have a YouTube channel. You might as well tell me.
Oh my gosh. Yo, listen, this is the Jin-roh interview, not the Epic Mewtwo interview. No, it's okay.
I've been taking notes on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
I see. Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because it's rooted in not Dokkan Battle at all.
Right.
I originally, this is going to be like maybe so silly because I think a lot of, I mean, I guess I don't talk about it too much on the channel. But it was a different channel that I started on originally. And I did Beyblade content.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in like, I don't know, I think I started in like 6th grade.
Yeah.
And I did like battles and like unboxings and it was the Beybladers United was the name of the channell.
That was actually a pretty catchy title. Good job on that one.
I thought it was pretty good. Although my name was awful on there originally. It was Blader 31699, which is just
it's like your typical gamer tag, right?
Yeah. It was pretty bad. And then my buddy, who is actually just Abel, his name was Blader Bob. So the
name's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, because as a kid, you just think the name Bob is so funny. I don't know why. It just is.
Yeah. By the way, side note before you get into it, it's funny because I've been equated to sounding like Bob's Burgers every now and then, or Archer. I guess another one I get a lot.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't really see much of the resemblance, but you know.
I can hear it slightly now that you mentioned it, and I hate
Continue.
it.
Let's forget about that.
Please, let's pretend that didn't happen.
Moving on. But yeah, so I was doing some of that. Some really cool things came of that too. My and I know this totally sounds like a my uncle works for Nintendo moment, but I swear it's not. My friend's mom worked for Spin Master, which is the company that makes Beyblade. I mean, it's Takara Tomy in Japan, but U.S. Spin Master. Anyway, she was able to get access to Bey wheels, which were like basically just think of Beyblades but sideways. Is the easiest way to think about it. And she brought a bunch. I held a tournament, and I even like filmed it like at my house with like a bunch of friends. And she brought like Bey wheels early before they came out. For us to, just like kind of play with. And obviously I did a couple of videos on him. And I wish I would have kept those videos up because I deleted them off the channel. I'll get into that in a second. But like, that was amazing. And that video like slapped. Like it got mad views. It was crazy for young me. I was like, the number's just going up, So it was so much fun. And eventually, I was always into Pokemon, but I started getting into Pokemon a little bit more, and I wanted to do some Pokemon content for my channel. So then I kind of meshed it together. I don't remember what I don't remember if I changed it with like a merged name. It was I think it was the Pokebladers United then.
Oh boy.
Yeah, wild. So I was doing like Beyblade and Pokemon content at the same time. I was doing the infamous joke on the people who know the original channel. I had a Pokemon Emerald randomizer going, and like occasionally I'll get the spare comment on the Dokkan channel like, "Man, I really hope you continue the Emerald randomizer." But
people been waiting years for you to come back, right?
Exactly. I might do it one day just for the meme, but I started kind of like fading out of not that I don't like Beyblade as a franchise, but just kind of like growing less interested in it and more interested in Pokemon. So then it became Pokemon United, I believe, and I just doing Pokemon content, and that was kind of evolving a little bit. It got a little bit big. I actually had a company, what are they called? It's like a partner company, like obviously not Machinima themselves, but like a company like that. That you can kind of like partner with, even kind of hit me up to partner up, which is really cool. Obviously, once YouTube changed the monetization, they were like, see ya, which is okay. But anyhow, though, I was kind of eventually burnt out of the Pokemon channel. I just like in retrospect, it was a little bit due to Pokemon Sun and Moon. I don't know if you're too familiar with just Pokemon. I assume you'd obviously just know the games.
Briefly. I kind of like understand like a little bit like Sun and Moon. I remember the names. Basically, that's probably the extent to it.
Yeah. Either way, though, Pokemon Sun and Moon, like I don't know what it was like. Pokemon games previous to that, I absolutely love them. I still love them to this day. I love Pokemon as a franchise, but Pokemon Sun and Moon, for some reason, and it's so weird because I can't tell you why I didn't enjoy them, or like not that I didn't enjoy them, I just didn't have as much drive to finish the game like I had Pokemon games previous.
Right. Well, does a lot of that also attribute from maybe like what you're going through life, like college or whatever the case is? Was that ever a factor or no?
Well, I might be a little bit younger than you think, because that was still high school. But
right, I don't even remember when they came out, so that's probably like why I'm asking questions like that. But,
no, it's all good. They came out couple years ago now. Kevon, you want to double check that for me?
It was a while. Let me see.
Yeah. Either way, though, so like I was playing Sun and Moon, and I just couldn't, I didn't get as into it as I was with Pokemon games previously.
2006, by the way, or 2016.
I was gonna say 2006. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I was kind of getting burnt out from that. So I was just like, I was just kind of taking a break. Was trying some different things, like I was doing some Smash, which I really enjoyed that, and I still love Smash to this day. But eventually,
you were in high school. You're more interested in girls and video games at the time, I'm sure.
I suppose, but like eventually, in high school, that was the whole story about how I discovered Dokkan is very cloudy in my memory, so I can't give you a perfect recollection of that, but. Either way, it got to the point where, I was playing Dokkan quite a bit, and I was like, I had JPN Global, and I eventually transitioned fully to JP, and I believe I know I was there for the Christmas 70% banner.
Okay.
So, and I know I played it during the school year, like before, winter of that year. So I guess that kind of
honestly, like you probably understand this, and while you're talking about it, like honestly for me, like it's like year 1 and year 2 are almost like a blur to me sometimes when I try to think about it.
100%. Yeah, no, it's crazy how much of it just feels like a blur. But either way, though, so I was playing Dokkan like myself. I was putting a little bit into the game, nothing too big. But since I was enjoying playing the game, I started, kind of seeking out some Dokkan YouTube content. And found some different people. Kind of got into the content, and I was kind of debating, well, do I, because this was like starting college at this point. It was like, well.
Yeah, not necessarily a good time to start in some regard.
Well, too bad for me. I still did it. But, I started, the channel, started doing some Dokkan content. And the advantage that I had in that regard was that I already had a lot of previous experience, not just like, you know, like thumbnails and layouts, but like also just like how YouTube worked to, you know, an extent, and how to run a channel and whatnot. You know, I already had a basic understanding of that from the Pokemon channel. So after that, it just kind of springboarded into Dokkan and came all the way to where we are today. I unfortunately don't use the Pokemon channel too often recently with the new Pokemon TCG set, Hidden Fates. Absolutely fire TCG set. I don't collect it too often, but I keep up with the new cards just because there's some YouTubers that I watch that open it. But the new set is great, so I had to pick up some cards from it. And I've been uploading a couple of things of that on the channel, but right now I feel like I just definitely can't balance two YouTube channels, especially with how consistent I upload.
I can see that.
Yeah, and like I think I do. I've sort of like rejuvenated my, you know, that little dip of not that I didn't like Pokemon, but you know, like not enjoying it as much. You know, thanks to many different factors. You know, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee obviously was kind of a subject. A little bit of a
I mean, I've heard of it, but outside of that, it's, you know, not really the area I can say I'm familiar with, so I'll leave it at that. But
yeah,
I mean, I can see why you would want to maintain a channel with that type of we'll just say genre, because honestly, it's you know, the lifespan of that is continuing. I mean, you've had new stuff. I mean, it seems like they just had, I don't know, maybe because I'm looking at it from outside glass, but it seems like there's been like a resurgence past couple of years behind Pokemon. I don't know. It just feels like that to me looking at it from outside, honestly.
100% you are right. Pokemon has definitely gotten a lot more popular, like, again. You know, there's tons of different factors. You know, obviously, Pokemon as just a franchise has always been pretty popular. I don't know what's happening to my voice, but don't worry about it. Slowly deteriorating, but you know, Pokemon Sun and Moon were pretty like talked about games, I would say.
Pretty controversial, I'd say.
Right, so that did get the community talking, and of course, like Pokemon and Smash is always a big talking point. You know, they brought back some old Pokemon to the new Smash game. Obviously, people are hyped for the first Switch game from Pokemon, which is Sword and Shield.
I remember that one summer with Pokemon Go, I was about to run over so many damn pedestrians that year.
Yes, and that's the other thing too. Thank you. I almost completely forgot. Pokemon Go is a very big aspect for why Pokemon has had such a big resurgence, because Pokemon Go absolutely slapped, especially in its first summer. Crazy, and it's still pretty popular to this day. You'd be surprised, because I know you don't see people playing it too often. Pokemon Go is definitely a big factor with that. You know, and just like overall, Pokemon, I don't know, just all those kind of different factors has brought it back into the limelight, I feel like. And I definitely agree with you. It's definitely a safe choice for a topic of a channel, because Pokemon is everlasting. It ain't ever going to die. So,
you know, honestly, you brought up fairly good points that I wanted to talk about, honestly. One being, you know, college, right? The timing of when you kind of had that, you know, YouTube, like whatever, restructure, whatever whatever you want to call it. But you know, that along with you mentioning thumbnails, like surprisingly, you know, people don't realize how much in skill sets you gain from creating a YouTube channel over the course of years. If you actually stick to it, you're developing a financing perspective. You're basically building an operations perspective by, you know, figuring out capacity of how many summons you can do or how much you can spend, financing your activities, whatever. I mean, thumbnails and whatever, overlays or whatever you want to call it. That is marketing skill sets. I mean, that's stuff that advertising agencies or marketers, those are the types. I've seen it in the field. Like I work in finance, but I get assigned corporate departments like marketing, and I see what they do, right?
Right.
And I'm over here. I'm not dissing them or anything by any means, but I see some of the marketing jobs, and I'm like, look, I can create a better slide than this. I can create a better thumbnail or whatever than this. Like, and I don't even do this I don't get paid to do that necessarily, you know?
Right.
the amounts that some of these marketers get paid, right? But the point being, I think from a timing wise, it took maybe some time out of you during some of the other more fun activities like going out with friends or hollering at chicks or whatever. But at the same time, like building those skill sets while you're in college, figuring out what you want to do career wise, I think the timing was actually perfect, in terms of building that overall, becoming more well-rounded in a business standpoint. If you look at it from that, a lot of the stuff that YouTube has is a foundation for a self-starting entrepreneur in a way, because entrepreneurs, like, whether it's a restaurant or a shop or whatever, you have to factor all those in, and you have to focus on all those. Like, I consider 4 areas important in terms of a company, right? One for sure is financing, right? But the other being research and development. So R&D from a Dokkan perspective, that's like basically thinking about content. And that's pretty much what I would equate to that.
Right.
But, marketing is a very important one. You have to figure out how much you're going to spend on marketing. And this can be like, thumbnail upgrades or whatever, software upgrades. But you also look at that from, what kind of return, how can I increase my awareness, accessibilities to audiences based on what I do, right? That's marketing essentially.
Right.
And then you have your production. You got to figure out the capacity, right? Based on the finance and activities and how much you're getting out of exposure from marketing, how much can I spend or how much can I acquire based on, Dragonstones that you want to purchase to do summons or whatever, character showcases, whatever it is. And then finally you have your financing activities, which is basically taking in all your revenue from your R&D and marketing and whatever production and figuring out how can I efficiently operate this quote unquote company based on the other 3 areas. And that's pretty much the four foundations I look at from what a company actually is, and a lot of that's available in YouTube. So it's highly interesting, and I think the timing of you doing that in college was actually a good opportunity for you, probably.
Yeah, I would agree. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of information. I kind of like went on a tangent.
No, it's all good. 100%. Again, that's what the podcast is all about.
Yep.
But, I guess I get so honed in from what I do career-wise, like I start thinking like that, it's like...
Right. You're wired.
It's kind of like, it's just kind of, I mean, I'm your typical Asian guy, I was good at math and I do boring stuff,
I get that. No, I mean, 100% you're right, though. It is definitely a good step in the right direction. And then, too, it can also lead into other fields, like... talking about like separately besides, I mean, business definitely plays a role in whatever regard, but like, you never know, video editing skills could, get you into editing for different companies. Graphic design can take you thousands of different ways, commercial, doing designs for other people, art, so on and so forth. Right.
I mean, the other thing to add to that too is you have to really step up your game in terms of speaking ability too. You have to be able to conversate in a good fashion. I mean, your audience is going to base a lot of what you say on how you say it and how you project yourself. So, the speaking ability, like giving presentations, like those types of stuff, I mean, that's going to be a benefit of doing YouTube. A lot of it's automated. You don't even realize you're improving your ability to speak without even thinking about it. And that's actually a good thing too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Public speaking skills are very important.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, Vaughn, were you gonna? What did you say? I think I cut you off with something. What did you say?
I was gonna say, you want to take a second to? You sound like.
Oh no! I'm good. I know it sounds like it hurts, but it doesn't hurt. It's okay.
Do you have some water nearby or what?
I do, but unfortunately, my bladder's gonna explode, so I don't want to drink anymore. But
I know what you mean.
I'm good.
I don't know.
I'm chilling.
Just put the elevator music on and put a "We'll be right back" slide. And,
nah, it's all right. I've held it for longer. It's okay.
All right. Well. Anyways. All right.
Sorry, TMI, but whatever. It's fine.
You're good. All right. So, what is your favorite type of Dokkan video to make? Be it summons, rainbow showcases, or the like?
Yeah. I mean, there's a very specific one I have in mind, and a lot of my channel has been kind of based on that foundation. A lot of early on, what I've always been interested in, and it's probably because I've been playing for so long. Like, year 1 and year 2, you're trying to build up your deck or whatever, and then whatever, I don't know, specific time period it is necessarily. It could be year 2, whatever. But point being, I've always loved rainbowing like obscure, ridiculous units, right? Like units you would never even think about rainbowing, right? That was like what I've got the most enjoyment out of. So like early days, like before, I basically started spending more, and stuff, like I would look for friends that had like ridiculous units that were rainbow. Like, for example, I mean, obvious one would be like the April Fool's Yamcha, right? Who the hell would do that, honestly? But if you think about it, that is such a great thing to rainbow, right? Once the potential system becomes a thing.
Wait, was that a low-key call-out? Or wait,
what you talk about?
That is a video that I've done before, the Rainbow April Fool's Yamcha.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, most people wouldn't consider doing that, but doing that takes you to that next level.
Right, I got you. I mean? No, I just didn't know if you knew that I made that video.
I think I remember seeing it. Yeah, I do remember seeing it a while back. I don't know if I actually, unfortunately clicked on it. I'll go ahead and be honest here, but
it's all good.
I think I remember seeing that. But like, if I did, I probably nodded my head at you. You know what I mean? Like, but it's one of those things, like, especially free to play units that were absolutely horrible. Like, I don't know, examples, like I talked about the Hachiyak unit, right? That's one that you would never even consider. Why waste your resources on it? The other one of my personal favorites is like Trollhan, or the like Monster Carrot's another one, Boss Rabbit, or whatever you call that unit. That's been one of my favorites too. There's so many of them, like, like units like that you normally don't see rainbowed and showcased. That's what I get the most enjoyment out of doing, and that's,
I got you.
Honestly, like, that's something I need to kind of get back on a little bit. It's content, flips every now and then, but
right.
It's a good reminder. I need to go back to my roots a little bit.
I got you. That, by the way, Bandai, if you're listening, please, if there's anything that you could do to improve Dokkan, revamp the Monster Carrot event, please. I'm begging.
Give our man a DUR.
Give my man a TUR.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing, honestly. That would be really cool.
Oh, that would be fire.
He's actually not that bad as a unit. He does have, I think, a medium chance to stun, so it actually has its functions. So it's not terrible, but it's kind of useless. A lot of times the links are terrible too, so
yeah,
we'll leave it
at that.
He
has Dragon Ball links, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tested. I mean, I remember testing him on, I think last time I actually tested the unit was on probably the Dragon Ball Saga, like you said, and that's probably the most applicable one to test it out on. And he didn't do too bad, but if you stun, great. But if you get hit, good luck.
Yeah, sorry, flashbacks. Moving on.
Honestly, before we go, and I'll just say this real quick.
Go for it.
Invisible Man that just came out, I wasted Kai's on him. I didn't care. I was like, I want him back to say, and I want to test him out. I don't care. It's actually a good unit, but it's one of those units you come across, you're like, you get kind of like, you get really interested, right? And
wait,
like,
why didn't you just use Trident?
I thought about it, but I kind of wanted, like, here's the deal, right? I wanted him so bad where I wanted a copy. I was like, let me grind out the World Tournament and let me get this guy. And luckily, like, the very last ticket I had available, I pulled the unit.
Nice.
So like, all right, it's happening now. So it was like, like, it's one of those things where I didn't feel bad using Kai's. Honestly, I consider it a good investment, honestly. Unpopular opinion, but whatever.
I find it funny because, like, when you look at his passive, like, you don't think an SR when you look at that passive.
Exactly, that's the thing. And along with that, he has the ability to cause supreme damage and reduce attack and defense. That's ridiculous for an SR unit to have that.
If SRs had potential in some way, shape, or form, like, that'd be so good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they added, like, maybe plus 2,000 stats increase, with the additionals and criticals and evasion to an SR unit. That would actually be kind of cool. Even with 1,000, the fact that you could potentially get crits and additionals and all that, that would actually switch things up a little bit too.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
That would be awesome. That'd be sick. All right.
That's a video for you. You should do it.
Sure. We'll write that one down. Write that down. Anyhow, speaking of YouTube videos, what is the most favorite video you've ever made? Your most favorite video?
We just...
No, you said what's your favorite kind of video to make? What's your favorite?
Oh, I missed that question.
Yeah, it's okay. We're going.
No, that's a good question because I need to. Yeah, I mean, there's how we get like caught up in the mix and don't even think about the videos themselves. You know, it's kind of like just done, executed and done, uploaded as soon as possible, whatever. You know, but
news especially.
I mean, that's a good question to actually ask because it's an opportunity to reflect back a little bit, and for me to reflect back, try to think honestly, favorite video. I think one of the favorites, honestly, is that mostly free-to-play Metacooler team on Super Battle Road. That was a difficult one. So I think I definitely, in a way, proud of that one. The other one, I think, back to the ridiculous, obscure unit showcases. Honestly, like Monster Carrot one's probably one of my favorites, and Troll Hunt's probably another favorite of mine. It's probably a mix of those. Honestly, like those have the most, I don't know, memorable. I don't know, connotations to it, I guess.
Fair enough. Nice. I like
There's probably a lot more, but I probably forgot about it considering there's so many of them now.
Right. I gotcha. All good. All right. Yeah, you can just skip down that next one. It's all good. You
my bad. Thank you for catching that.
No problem.
All right. So.
You had a controversial question for me?
No. He skipped a question, so I went back and hit it.
I got you.
All right, so
let's talk about your political affiliations, huh?
Would you wear a MAGA hat in public?
How do you finance your Dragonstones outside of your normal extracurricular activities? Let's talk about that.
Oh my God.
How do you feel about the economy of Dragonstone?
Yeah, exactly, right. All right, sorry.
The real question is memes. What's your favorite meme around your channel?
Meme around the channel. Honestly, I don't think there's that many around my channel. The one I get a lot, and I don't know if it's necessarily meme, but it's the monotone, right? I sound like a effing robot. I get that periodically. Yeah. And, I 100% understand, where they're coming from. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm not saying this to like diss anybody necessarily, right? I'm just being like, 100 on it, right? So I'll just go ahead and say it that, like, when I kind of, act like what I'm normally not, I feel kind of dirty about myself. If that makes any sense. If I amplify myself outside of what I normally talk like, I don't know. I don't feel normal. You know what I mean? So I guess my normal self is monotone for the most part. So that's that's kind of and here's the thing though. I'm being stubborn for no reason because that's the type of stuff I need to be doing,
No, I got you. You don't want to be fake, though.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yeah. And I'm a knucklehead about it because, let's be honest here, this is the entertainment industry. YouTube is an entertainment industry. A lot of it is based on personality. A lot of it's, Hollywood is fake as F, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, and that's how it is. So I'm actually holding myself back on doing something like that, being stubborn. So honestly,
I'm only using 10% of my power.
Exactly. So like, I should be more proactive and, amplified or whatever the right word is for it. But at the same time, I think a lot of people like the chilled out, laid back nature of my channel too. So
it's good to have somebody like that,
Yeah, and I like I said, I'm not dissing anyone necessarily that goes that route because that's actually the correct route to take. That's the right path to take. So we'll leave it at that one. Yeah. That's probably the only thing I know. I don't know. You know of anything else? Because I'm not really aware of any memes around my channel necessarily.
No, I would say that is something I've heard before too. So
that's something you said. I remember you said that on the stream when you were watching the $300 million.
Wait, I
did. You're like I don't know though. This guy we got to be careful with the monotone though. Because it's a good reminder. Honestly, for me, it's a good reminder that every now and then I got to get outside of that. I can't be stubborn like that. And I'm sure you understand. Like it's you're providing for an audience, so you have to look at it from their perspective. So
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I mean, to be fair, when it comes to personality with YouTube, I'm naturally just a crackhead.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Some people are built like that. That's good.
Yeah, I'm not
calling you a crackhead, by the way.
No, you're good. Figuratively, of course. Susan, calm down. Okay. No, I'm bouncing off the walls all the time. That's just kind of my personality. He would know, Kayvon. I'm pointing to you through the screen. So, it's not really like I'm not pretending to be go stupid, because that's just me.
Right.
But I definitely see where you're coming from. And to be fair, it does obviously it takes a little bit of getting out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's just not, what you're used to. So.
Right.
But
honestly, and that's something that has to be done. I mean, it's funny because, you have to step out of your comfort zone in order to improve yourself, right? That's just the golden rule, right? But at the same time, like, I don't know, I guess I'm such a knucklehead about it. And you brought up a good point. I mean, a lot of people are naturally like that, and don't have that problem. Like Cyril for Bread and Haunted are good examples of people like that. You know what I mean? They're just ridiculous. They're ridiculous in nature, but that's just how they are.
Yes,
so
they are.
So I guess from my end, it's just like, I'm still kind of working that out, basically.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. I mean, to be fair, I get the stubbornness as well. I'm quite the stubborn person as well. Kayvon would also know that.
I know everything.
So I get that. I definitely get it. It's like, and especially too, since you said before, like you're a very structured person, you don't really like change. It's just difficulties coming from every which way.
Right. Yeah. It's a highly uncertain environment that we find ourselves in.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's just YouTube. You never know. Monetization could be achieved at 1 million tomorrow. Anything could happen on this website.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good and bad thing about YouTube, right? The opportunity, the sky's the limit, but also you can get a straight shot of hell if you really wanted to. Also,
right, the sky could fall on you tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly right.
Okay, Chicken Little.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so I guess this kind of does solidify this question a little bit, considering the answer to your last one. But how often do you read your comment section, and how do you feel about said comment section?
Yeah, so it's an important question, I think, because one, I try to read my comments as much as possible, right, and I try to respond as much as I can, and interact. I mean, because honestly, at the end of the day, we're only here because of who watches our stuff, right? That's the bottom line. Without them, without the audience, without all the subscribers, the people that continue to support the channels, we don't exist. I mean, that's you got to always keep that in mind, right? So I try to interact when I can, and I'm not always available, but if I am, I try to. So that's one. Number two, when it comes to like comments, I'm a firm believer of free speech to a certain extent. Right. If until it gets hostile and I don't know, volatile and what's the word I'm looking for? If it becomes to the point where they're perpetrating right against someone else, that's when I start having problems with it. But I try to leave comments alone as much as possible, whether it's negative or not. I mean, they could say the harshest things to me, and that's fine, and I'll still read it, and sometimes I have to respond to it, and whatever. Most of the time, I'm laughing about it, but yeah, you're kind of right about that. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, that's how I look at it from that part. Like, I read the comments when I can, I respond to them when I can, and I accept all kinds, negative, positive. Criticism is still constructive criticism, in my opinion, to a certain degree. So that's the way I look at it.
Fair enough. Very true. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think it's important to read everything, good and bad. Just then you kind of know too what everybody thinks of you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get things just sugar coated. You start developing that one-sided story. So I mean, honestly, you want negative stuff to pop up because otherwise you're not going to improve. Exactly. You got to take the negatives to improve yourself. So that's probably another point.
Yeah, 100%. Constructive criticism is always important.
I mean, obviously, you don't want comments like "you deadbeat," whatever, like you suck or whatever. Head. Yeah, I know, right? And I'm sure all of us have seen comments of that to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I don't know. At that point, it's funny, but
Oh yeah. Well, Kayvon, hit us up with the next, and actually the final for this section, and then we're almost done. We're close.
All right, so. What do you do in your free time outside of YouTube?
All right. Let's think about that one because my lifestyle has changed over, I don't know, it seems to change every year, honestly. But okay, so I think you guys would probably understand that when it comes to doing YouTube on a regular basis, it does kind of consume you a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Especially keeping up with the news and all that nonsense,
Yeah.
So when we're talking about, YouTube, that's a whole different lifestyle in itself. So outside of that and outside of my career, what I like to do is honestly, like, I'm a big fan of Liverpool Football Club. Premier League's been a passion of mine. So I actually traveled to England a few years ago and went to Liverpool, made my pilgrimage to the stadium, and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Soccer's been a big deal since I was a kid. I used to play whatever and stuff like that. But, traveling's also a big one. I haven't done much lately because of how busy and the workload, right? Like, management of work functions and tasks and people, it kind of consumes you a little bit too. So, I haven't traveled as much as I used to, but, traveling's definitely been a big part of my life. Like, going to foreign countries and learning about new cultures and, taking a vacation and, immersing yourself with somewhere you've never been. It's one of the best, experiences of life, honestly, So, I mean, those are two big things, but outside of that, I mean, it's pretty like, workout or watch NFL games on Sunday, which is tomorrow, right? Today's Saturday, right?
Today is Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much got all day just chilling on the couch and watching NFL games and catching up on the Premier League and whatever. But also just general stuff. It's not really exciting. Like I'm not a superhero in my downtime or anything. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, well, you wouldn't tell us that if you were. So.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a bluff. Maybe that's a double take, right?
Nani?
But I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. I mean, we could all agree. We probably watch, professional sports of some sort, and watch general TV and movies and whatever. So, outside of that, it's pretty normal. I don't do anything crazy necessarily.
Fair enough. Besides, of course, run our good Dokkan YouTube channel here.
Yeah, and we'll see. It's been sustainable to a certain point, but you think about long-term wise, like how things are, and what the real objective is, right? And I think it's good to close out by saying, at least for me, and I'm not speaking for everyone here, but at least for me, treating it as a hobby kind of extends the lifespan a little bit. I don't have to feel too pressured about things, right? Like I can essentially, we can essentially do content we want. That's what it comes down to, right? And yeah, I mean, we have to produce videos like on a pretty regular basis, and I try to do that, for the most part. But it kind of maintains the enjoyment factor about it. Don't really feel like I burn out too much. That comes up, every now and then, obviously, because if you're doing it every day, like you're gonna burn out at some point. But
right,
you take a step back at that point, enjoy your life a little bit, step away, and come back to it. So I guess it's a good experience, and you learn a lot from it, and I'm sure you have to.
Oh yeah. 100%. Wow, that like low key went straight to the heart. Dang. All right. Well, with that wholesome moment out of the way, moving on to some questions about you. I mean, you specifically sounds weird, but questions more so about you, like you, Jin-roh, the man, the myth, the legend.
We get into the personal questions now, huh?
Yes, yeah. So the political standing question is no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll answer that because I'm not a citizen. I can't vote. All right, that's a good answer.
Oh well, I see. All right.
I'm unbiased. I'm neutral. I'm on the sideline.
Gotcha. You're in the I don't know. I was gonna make a joke about the animal, like Democrat and Republican, elephant and donkey, respectively, but doesn't matter. Anyhow. So this is a question actually, I guess this one is a little bit about your channel, but more so pertaining to you because, not a lot of other channels, do this, at least that I've seen. And I know, Kayvon has seen as well. This is a question that we kind of both had, from seeing your content in the past and how it is now. Why do some of your showcases have commentary and others don't?
Good question. And, let me, while I think about that, can I make a drink real fast? And you guys have the elevator music come on real fast, right? Just give me like 30 seconds. I'm going to pour some water real fast while I think about this.
Doo-doo. Kayvon, how was your day?
Pretty good.
This would be the optimal time to go to the bathroom, but I'm gonna make it go big or go home, as I always say.
True.
Well, while we are in our mini break here, this video was sponsored by the Epic Mewtwo YouTube channel. Subscribe today for more content like this.
How does one sponsor themselves?
I mean, well, think about it. How it's like there's like the meme where people do if it's a series within their already existing content, they're sponsored by that series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how in Jackbox 5 that we play, right? Like the mini games are sponsored by the actual game, within the game. Fair. You know what I mean? Or that's actually terrible. An example I was gonna say how Pepsi is in JoJo, but that's not a good example. All right. Well, Jin-roh, are you back? Was that 30 seconds? I don't know.
You never had the guest just leave.
He's gone. Maybe I should take a bathroom break. You know what? I'm going to do it. We'll take the cut. We're going to cut it right here. I feel like a new man.
It probably revived you a little bit.
Oh yeah, I definitely just got hit with a max revive here.
Yeah, I had a feeling that might have been the case. I was like, let me make a drink real fast.
Good call. Well, we are back. I don't know if there's an out of there or not. I haven't decided yet, but if there was,
how long this is? Yeah, there's gonna be
bamboozled. I'm gonna cut it, obviously.
Yeah, but there's still gonna be an ad. Now you better have watched.
Oh, all right. Well, Kayvon decided. I guess there's an ad. Sorry, not my choice.
I think you guys earned an ad at this point, honestly.
We earned
an section.
Yes, of course. Yo, the 3-hour Hantan podcast didn't even have an hour besides the initial one.
That's pretty crazy.
Or didn't even have an ad. Sorry.
We're coming up on Hantan levels of length for this.
We're on
it's funny because I mean, none of us probably meant for this to happen, honestly, but it's been a great conversation. I mean, it feels like a conversation than an interview, so it's
right.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm glad too. That's the goal too. I wanted to make it feel like it's back and forth instead of just me hammering you with questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a good time when you're just getting hit one-sided. You gotta counter every now and then.
Gotta press the down B button.
Yeah, exactly. Fire Emblem character. That's a little bit of a controversial pick.
Did you think of the answer to?
Yeah, so I mean, I already had an answer. I just wanted a drink, honestly.
Boy,
we've been bamboozled.
We were the ones who were getting bamboozled. It turns out.
He played us like a fiddle.
Yeah. So whatever you want to get back on it, I can answer immediately.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
So I don't know when the cutoff and all that starts. So.
Oh no, we've been recording this whole time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. If you're gonna keep it the same format, you're good. All right, so
don't worry.
Okay, all right. I'll silence for 2 seconds and get back into it.
No. I mean, this is part of it.
We're already going.
Oh, you're actually including the whole thing? I heard a cut was going on, so I thought you were gonna edit or something.
The cut was when you got up.
Okay, all right.
Welcome.
Hey, you know what? This is cool though. Hey, I don't care what format you leave it in. The more natural it is, the better. The more they're gonna know what we're like in real life, the better. Well, in most cases, yes, but in some cases not. But to answer your question, it's actually really simple if you think about it. The reason why some of them have commentary, or most of them have commentary, and some of them don't, is a timing issue. Because of what I do career-wise, I don't always have the time. I have the recordings, right? But I don't always have the time to, because I edit my videos, right, based on rotations of what the unit's being showcased. In the most cases, I have to pre-record the footage and then edit and then record the commentary just to provide the insight. So that's the process behind what I do, right? And when I have recordings available, because the recording part isn't bad.
Right.
But adding in the commentary is it takes editing and then and providing the commentary. Those are the two steps that lead up to the processing of the video before it gets even uploaded. So with that being said, a lot of times I run into an issue where I have the footage available, but I don't have the time to provide commentary. I just only have enough time to do the recording and then the editing, and then I'm back at either I'm back at the office during my lunch break, or I'm staying late. I'm going back to the office after eating dinner, and I have to stay there late or whatever, so I don't have time. So in order to provide consistent content for my channel, sometimes I have to bypass the commentary portion and just do a non-commentary showcase, because at the end of the day, some people prefer to just watch the unit showcase whenever they're available, whatever, you know what I mean? So a lot of times though, like it's a double-edged sword, right? Because a lot of times I get people that prefer to have commentary over the videos because it's more personable. That's the bottom line. Right. So I'm kind of like at a fence where should I keep it consistent where it's at least once a day for the most part, or take my time and, instead of every day, do it every other day or whatever the case is, and actually provide commentary on all the videos. So it's kind of like, that's the reason why it exists. But it's also a problem and dilemma for me as well.
So have you ever just thought about doing live commentary? Because that's typically the route I go down.
So here's the like, when you say live commentary, what, like while recording?
Yeah. I don't mean like live streaming. I mean like as you're recording the footage, you're like, right.
So I actually did that in the beginning, right? And it kind of works to a certain degree, where again, it's based on each rotation, right? So I could technically provide commentary for each rotation and record them in there. The problem exists when I'm not always available at home, right? So, I try to go home for lunch when I can. I live pretty close to work. I kind of forced my accommodations according to where I work, because I tend to work late. Throughout my career, I've always worked late. So I prefer to be at a place where I'm close to, right, in case I have to work late. With that being said, a lot of times I'm held up in meetings or whatever where I can't necessarily go home, right? So what I do is I'll record stuff like while I'm out, like while I'm at the office.
Wait, while you're in the meeting?
Not in the, maybe sometimes. Anytime except when I'm presenting. Maybe I did when I'm presenting. I don't remember. Maybe I had it automatically driven. I don't know. But yeah, you don't have time for lunch. You have maybe 30 minutes, right, before the next meeting, and you have a short break, like short lunch break, right? But you don't have time to go home. So I'll record the stuff if it's available, right, on my phone or whatever. And I'll be like, okay, when I get home, I'll provide the commentary after editing. So sometimes I run into the issue of not having that available, because the biggest problem with that is not having the mic, right, available with the software system on my PC at home. So I can record the footage anywhere. It's not a problem. It's just a matter of the editing portion and providing commentary. That's where the problems exist. So like an example I can give you is whenever news will drop, right? And I'm able to record it quickly because it takes maybe 5 minutes. Like I can read and write Japanese, so I just simply have to hop in the game and look at it, and translate it, right? So I'll record sometimes when it has to be immediate. Like I'll record it and have the audio pick up my voice from the phone, right? And I'll record it all at once, and that way I can whenever I get home for lunch or whatever, I can quickly upload it and return immediately. But when it comes to showcase, it's a little bit more difficult to do. I mean, I could go back to that scenario where I record each rotation. I feel like it might be kind of like all over the place in a way. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. So that's pretty much why.
Interesting. Because so Kayvon, I don't know if this is on the tip of your tongue, but I do want to share because I have said before, and I don't want this to, because I understand 100% from that perspective. But like for me personally in the past, and I think I've said this on streams. I know we've talked about this a couple of times. But I've always said that Dokkan content, I feel, without commentary is more so just like, why would I not just play the game myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, no, I perfectly hear what you're saying.
Right, because I understand, of course, like, wanting to showcase a new unit, and obviously everybody doesn't necessarily have the tools to, you know, like, if it's a brand new Dokkan Fest or LR, of course, nobody can showcase it Rainbow, or even just showcase it normally, or, I mean, sorry, not showcase, my bad, I'm corrupting myself with my YouTube terms. Like, use it in game, right, and test it out themselves, especially Rainbow. Not everybody, you know, has the tools to be able to access Trident, even though it is pretty readily available. You know, the whole 9 yards. So, obviously, you know, showcases are good in that regard, and of course, you know, you have like cases like that where, you know, the gameplay is there and you can see what it does. But in my eyes, right, the whole thing about it is that you're, you know, not only there to see what the unit can do, but you're also there for the input that the YouTuber is putting into what you're already trying to consume, and adding additional information and adding in, you know, commentary, the bottom line, to, you know, just kind of give you a better explanation why what's happening on screen is happening, you know, why the other units on the team are there, you know, links, passives, you know, leader skill, and maybe, you know, explaining it a little bit more in depth if it's necessary, you know, explaining why they took on the particular event. Of course, you know, yeah,
it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, perfectly understandable stuff. And I think you made some valid points there. And I think that brings up the issue, right, from a content creator standpoint, is sometimes you get disconnected from an audience perspective, right? So, like, for me, for this particular example, I get tunnel vision thinking, you know, this will be kind of when it comes to character showcases, it's a neutral standpoint, it's unbiased, like NPR would be, or whatever, right? Whatever equivalent news source or whatever, I don't know, BBC, Sky Sports, I don't even know. But the point being, like, it's a neutral standpoint, like maybe even a little scientific or technical perspective, right? People just go in to see the unit produce, what type of production it can, and how it links up with certain units on the team or whatever, and kind of provide a neutral perspective on it. But at the same time, like, I perfectly understand, like, people watch channels and videos for a certain reason, because of the content creator themselves, right? They want their input, they want their team building options, they want their links or whatnot. So no, I mean, I perfectly agree. I guess, you know, in that regard, you know, that brings up a very good point, and a lot of it was validated already from, you know, the people that are subscribed to my channel. I need to provide commentary on most of the videos, and make that a very limited scenario, right? If I'm, you know, contacted by executives in the company and I have to get a report done ASAP, you know, and it's already 8 o'clock, right? I'm not available. So in those cases, maybe, yeah, I'll do a non-commentary video on something relevant. But yeah, I mean, I've always had this issue that I've been dealing with, you know, timing, you know, of available time, you know. So I completely understand where you're coming from, because that's, you know, the audience perspective, and that's really what you have to focus on in terms of improving your content overall. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, because obviously your situation is a little bit more unique, right? Where it's not that you're like, it's not that you're like, yeah, I don't want to put commentary on this video. It's like, I literally can't because I don't have the time, right?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There's been situations where I'm like lazy.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like, you know, we're all human. It happens. But I just mean like generally, right? Come on, work
generally
with me.
speaking.
But, you know, like, yeah, generally speaking, it's like, you know, I just don't have the time, and I'm busy with, you know, other things in life. So, you know, that's perfectly understandable. But, you know, like, I think, like you said, that audience perspective is, you know, important, because, like, from a viewer perspective, you know, from me, like, I consume quite a bit of Dokkan content. I do watch, maybe not as much as I did at one point, but I still do consume quite a bit of Dokkan content, even if it's just like leaving it on in the background while I'm doing something. You know, and I feel like it's important too to just kind of like, I don't want to say analyze the competition, because that sounds awful, but like, you know, see what other people in the community. Yeah. I mean, a little bit, you know, especially from the business perspective, like you were saying. You know? You need to know who else is in your field, you know, and not only that, just like see what the homies are up to, you know. So
right.
You know, from like the perspective, because I mean, I've literally said before, and don't take this the wrong way, because like, again, the surface level view of this is like, oh, they just don't want to record it because, like, they're lazy or, they just don't have anything interesting to say and I could just play the game myself. I think I've said, like, quote for quote before, that Dokkan content without commentary is pointless content. And, like, that sounds so harsh, right?
I don't know what's worse, though, in my case. No commentary or a monotone, you know what I mean?
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I feel like...
No, I'm kidding around. I hear what you're saying.
Right. Like, because there's a couple of channels like that where they just do nothing, right? And again... To be fair, that is very, judging a book by its cover. You never know what the situation is. Perhaps they, don't have a microphone and they can't afford one that they can, be able to record with, or a nice microphone, or perhaps they're too shy to be able to do it. Or
there's a lot of factors, I guess, behind that.
Maybe a situation like yours where they're working all the time, but they're in a job where they're able to have access to a computer. You never know. Everybody is different. I understand definitely from that perspective, and I do get the appeal somewhat that, like, you don't want any commentary, you just want to see what the unit does, and you want it vanilla, I guess would be a good way to put it.
That's probably, yeah.
But at the same regard, like with your point on the monotone thing, even though your voice is maybe a little bit monotone, like you said, I've said it before myself. Your personality, at least, I don't know, sitting here with you for the past 2 hours and a half, whatever.
I mean, if you're sitting with me for 2.5 hours, I guess it ain't too bad, right?
On that, yeah, of course. But, like, your personality certainly shines through. And I think that, maybe off of one video, if somebody sees that, they're like, oh, this guy, he's like, just, hello there, it is I. You're not like that either, but you get my point, right? But
yeah, I think it's more or less like, I like to make fun of myself because I've been told that before. So it's, I don't take it to heart that,
right.
it's whatever. So it's more or less, cracking jokes to myself. So
yeah,
it's something, that I've been a little bit more conscious about. So I've tried to be a little bit more animated to the degree I can. But, back to your point, it's, there's this saying, the customer is always right. And it exists for a reason. I mean, the bottom line, especially in this type of setting, the audience is the most important thing. Without the audience, creators don't exist. So
right.
I think from what I'm gauging of what you're saying, I think it's the general consensus that commentary is needed on video. So
I think so. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't know. I'm not a betting man, despite playing Dokkan.
I've had commentary. I've had comments in my videos like that. So and on a pretty frequent basis. So I get it, and I think it's people want to know more. People want to know about you, not just the unit themselves. And I think that's what it comes down to too. They want your take on it,
right? Because half the time, because with the type of content that we do, unfortunately, some of it is similar. 20 different people come out with the same video that's a rainbow showcase on the new unit, and that's of course not
there's and there's only so much you can do with that. You can maybe make variations on teams or whatever, but it's the same stuff. Like, it has to happen. It's only natural that it happens.
Right, of course.
You have such limitations, so sometimes people will get mad that they're duplication of content or whatever, especially if they subscribe to multiple channels. But again, I think the point you're trying to make, and I might be ahead of the curve here, is what differentiates each video is based on what that creator provides in terms of commentary.
Exactly. What they bring to the table besides just the gameplay is what makes them truly special. Whenever a new unit comes out, right? Like, there's a couple of YouTubers specifically, I'm a big fan of Big Poppy D, Truth, but like, their personalities for me, are what really shines through, right? D-Free is such a goofball, and Truth is Truth. So
he's on his own realm.
Yeah, Ella King status out here. But their personalities are so interesting in how they present the game and how they react to different things in the game, and just what they talk about, and their really like solid knowledge, and they do really know a lot about the game, right? is what attracts me so much, rather than a video where it's just no commentary of the new unit. If I'm looking for something quick to see how a new unit is, possibly. But
and I think, I think a lot of it is, the disconnect. The more I think about it, a lot of it's also due to my personal preference, right? So let's say, for example, if I'm watching walkthroughs, right? Let's say, for example, Resident Evil 2 or 3 or whatever, right? For me personally, I prefer no commentary. I just want the gameplay, so it depends on the person. So I guess, like, for me, like, I got tunnel vision thinking that people just wanted the facts, you know what I mean? Instead of just the inputs from people. So,
and you can still present the facts with commentary. But I definitely see where you're going through, like, especially if it's just, it's like a walkthrough rather than a let's play. Right? If you're just trying to figure out how to get through a game, and then you pick that up and you see the person going through it, no cuts, just authentic gameplay. But at the same time, I feel like maybe just the nature of the game is different because,
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A AAA title with a, like the story mode where characters have voice lines and dialogue and interactions is a lot different than, PNGs floating in front of some balls.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. We're popping bubbles at the end of the day. That's all we're doing here.
Exactly. Exactly. So
I get it.
Yeah, I think I've made my point clear. But, and again, not to offend you at all, but just presenting my point.
Do I sound offended because I'm plotting my next kill tomorrow? I've traced your residence and all that, so expect me a visit tomorrow.
Oh boy, we're getting DDoS. Susan, cut that out. Don't worry about it. Team YouTube.
You already screwed up and told me from Chicago, so I already filtered down by there.
I live on top of the Sears Tower.
I'll start from there.
Oh my god.
Good bet. Oh, all right.
Theo, do you want to take these next few questions? I know
Yeah, sure. So I noticed from doing a little bit of analysis on some binocular type stuff.
Here we go. Some sketchy questions.
No, it's not sketchy. I think you'll like this one. From taking a look at your YouTube channel intro specifically and the Twitter bio that you have at the moment, what's so special to you about hip hop?
Okay, well, it's kind of funny we haven't touched up on that yet, but I mean, hip hop honestly has been a big part of me, like similar to anime and manga. Honestly, about the same time. Honestly, maybe anime and manga were a lot earlier in terms of childhood, but at a very young age. I mean, I've been a fan of hip hop, like, for a long time, and I've gone to shows and whatever. But I don't know, it's just. Everybody has that genre, and for me, hip hop just has the type of, like I also like funk bass styles and slap bass and that type of stuff. So hip hop, essentially, it's nothing original if you think about it. A lot of it's based on samples, creating into a different type instrumental, right? And then you provide verses over it. Right. But the fact that people can alternate originals and provide their own take on it, with lyricism or whatever, and we can go into the whole discussion of different types of production styles with DJs, whatever, which I won't go into. I'm not going to bore you to death if you're not a fan of hip hop, you know what I mean? So, So, a lot of it's based on just personal preference, and it's a huge deal for me. I mean, I only listen to hip hop predominantly, and then I'll put it this way: 90% of the time I'm listening to hip hop, and to be more specific, I'm stuck in the 90s, golden age of hip hop.
Fair enough. Running in the 90s.
None of that new crap doesn't exist to me. It's not. I don't consider that hip hop. I'm probably speaking like an old head right now, but whatever. I'm speaking facts anyway. So, but 90% of the time that's the case, and then 10% of the time maybe like other genres like classic rock and stuff like that. So that's a big part of my life.
Nice. That's awesome. Who's your favorite hip hop artist?
I mean, hands down, I think the Roots are probably my favorite hip hop group of all time. I mean, every single album of theirs has been transitional, to say the least. It's changed. Every album's a evolution, right? And I can go into detail as to which tracks and what albums and whatever, but lyricism, beats, instrumentals, just overall style, MC style, all that. Black Thought and Malik be the two main artists in the group, exceptional. And then you got a couple of others that hop in every now and then, like Dice Raw, whatever. We're not going to get into the details, but yeah, I mean, I just love that style, man. The East Coast style is where it's at. I love West Coast, but East Coast is where it's at, man.
That's cool. Does that have something to do where you live now, or is it just always? Because, like, I'm under the impression, and again, very tunnel vision, but, like, I'm kind of under the impression that hip-hop isn't that popular in Japan?
Yeah, so I think, to answer your question, it's actually... I wouldn't say like really popular, but it's actually quite popular over there. There's a lot of the major artists do have, like, they travel there for concerts and stuff like that. So there's definitely a demand for it. And, the whole style, like I always love how I explain this, right? Music in Japan operates a little bit differently, right? So they have their domestic music, right? And we'll talk about the whole J-pop garbage and, girl bands and all that nonsense that takes like maybe 5 minutes to create, whatever. We're not going to go there, but music from the West, right, typically takes about 10 years to transition over to JP and catch on. So the best example I can give you is, let's say during the 90s, you had a lot of the visual rock bands, which is reminiscent of hair bands in the 80s, right, in a way.
Like, give me some examples.
Like, you're putting on makeup and stuff like that. Oh. You want specific examples of like bands in Japan that existed?
No, I just mean like I just meant of that genre. So like Kiss kind of would be like a good example.
I mean, not to that extent. I would say something like you're putting on makeup to look pretty, basically, as a guy, and you're doing like rock music, basically. Essentially, it was his own style. You know what I mean? So it was a variation of the hair bands and stuff from the 80s where dudes were pretty much putting on makeup on the regular, you know what I mean? And that kind of like trickled over to Japan in the 90s, and they had their own take on it, right? And then like in the 2000s, by the time the 2000s hit, like rap and all that was pretty popular in the US. I mean, it started to take storm, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, with the rise of Jay-Z, Biggie, and Tupac or whatever, right? So that finally took place in the early 2000s in Japan. So it's always been like a 10-year lag, right? So, and long story short, I mean, my passion for that, I think essentially just grew from, I don't know, exposure of living in the US probably. By that time, it was already popular. And you kind of start from the tip of the iceberg, right, with what's available in the mainstream, because as a kid, you're not really aware of what's underneath. And then over time, you start developing a deeper understanding of how far that goes down. And the deeper it goes, the more interesting it gets, honestly. So that's probably the best way to explain how my experience with hip-hop or rap in general has been.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean, that is I kind of, funny enough, like, not to revert this back to Dragon Ball, but in the way that you were saying, like the deeper you go, down the iceberg, so to speak, I feel like that's the same with me. Of course, like as a kid, the baseline is just like, oh, Dragon Ball comes on TV every Saturday. I'm going to watch it. But of course now I'm surrounded in a room by thousands of Gokus looking at me. Right. So,
it's me, Goku.
Hey, it's me, Goku.
It's like different levels of awakenings, right? That's pretty much what that is.
Going down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
That you've transcended at this point.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
True. I like it. That's dope. Yeah, I figured I had to ask, because, like, I know maybe it's sort of silly to, like, think of a Twitter bio as so impactful, but you're literally, because the only thing, if I don't have it pulled up in front of me, I can pull it up, but your Twitter bio is something to the effect of anime plus hip hop equals perfection.
Yeah, something along those lines. I think I had previously a lot more information on there, like, gaming fan, blah, 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 right? But yeah. I wanted it to be just short and quick, just kind of like one sentence quote that just personifies what the content is, basically. And I try to, like, basically, being a minimalist to a certain degree is good, right? You don't want to go full out retard and just go in the minimalist style that some people do, right? It's kind of crazy what kind of lifestyles they live. But The shorter the better, the more concise the better. So like that's the same thing with the Twitter handle. I mean, what are two big things that are important to me, right? And obviously gaming is a part of that, but anime kind of like lumps into gaming in some regard, so I just kind of kept it at that. But like honestly, like I think the other thing too is anime and hip hop are just a great combination, and you saw glimpses of that over time with some of these stuff, like Samurai Champloo is a good example of that, right? You have incorporations of hip hop and anime, and like a lot of hip hop heads surprisingly are into anime and stuff like that. So,
right? Yeah, you hear a lot about that. And
it kind of meshes well together. It's kind of meant to be. It's a surprisingly good couple.
I got you. That's it's hip hop plus anime equals deadly combination.
Yeah, that's definitely
I like it. I like it though, because like I remember because I just thought of it just because like the question I think I was like just watching some of your videos just for like because I always like, not that I'm not like obviously everybody that we interview, I'm not watching every video, and that's not to say you don't make
and you got to do your research, so
right, exactly.
I get it.
Right, so I was watching.
You don't want to be the amateur journalist in the interview,
Right, yeah, exactly. I don't want to be like you're
you're in that movie, right? No, that was Lawrence Fishburne. I'm Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, so I just thought it was interesting, especially since it was all those in your bio. So yeah, I figured I'd ask. Moving on. Speaking of couples, segue. I have to ask because you are.
This is a question I think I'm gonna get.
Maybe because to my knowledge, this has never happened. At least in like public, obviously. I guess public eye
confirmation of some sorts.
What's no. Oh no. But I was gonna say, what's it like dating a Dokkan YouTuber?
Okay, yeah. So basically, the same question asked differently.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
All right. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about from my perspective or somebody else's perspective? Because I'm in both situations in this case. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? We're talking to you, my guy. Your perspective. I want to hear what.
Well, I don't know. Some I mean, you could be asking a guy or a female question about how the other person thinks about somebody that's creating that has a Dokkan YouTube channel or whatever. Fair. So there's multiple angles.
Yeah, no. So. I mean, like you specifically, right?
I'll add a name, man, and I'll answer it. What are you talking about?
You and social, obviously. Who else?
At least somebody asked, like, straightforward. Finally.
Wait, but isn't it like obvious that you two are dating?
I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. I think we made it pretty obvious over the course of maybe the last year or so. So, I mean, the answer is yes. I think it's been kind of interesting to kind of play around a little bit, kind of joke around a little bit, not officially confirm it, but. I mean, she's doing her Q&A, and I think a lot of it was derived from that, right? Like, I'm going to confirm it on my Q&A, so don't talk about it until...
Oh, so wait, so you, like, teased it low-key, but you weren't, like...
I mean, I was answering it by not answering it. That's probably the best way to put it.
I got you.
Like, all right, so the best example is, like, I get a question like that, right? And my go-to answer would be like, I'm going to let Social Fire cover that one.
That's pretty good.
So, I mean, to answer your question, yes. And it's actually cool, honestly, because it's not just from a YouTuber standpoint, but, she's been a fan of Dragon Ball and anime and gaming. Like, some of the games, like, she plays is like, yo, what the hell's wrong with you, type deal. Because it's so out there, I mean, it's so niche, but it's great because it's a lot of similar passions that, we share and we talk about, and Dragon Ball is, like, it's funny because, like, I hate certain characters. I love certain characters, even in Dragon Ball, right? She loves certain characters and she hates certain characters. We'll just be talking crap to each other about how their opinion is quote unquote wrong. You know what I mean? Like, just giving each other hell, right? So it's great in that regard. And from a YouTube standpoint, I mean, what kind of ethics, not ethics, but like work ethic and dedication, I guess, in some regard, and commitments you have to make to continue to create content, right? So it's good having a partner essentially side by side with you, sharing the same experience, so you kind of go through it together type deal. So that's probably the best way to explain it.
That's pretty dope. I like it. So since you did bring it up, I have to ask, what do you think would be the answer from her perspective?
Well, hopefully the same, but I feel like she's gonna be dissing me the whole time.
Because here's the thing, just before I move on to that, eventually we do want to have her on as well.
Yeah, I kind of left some questions up in the air. That way she could cover it. So
I gotcha. So I do want to ask the same question, both ways. You know, what's it like dating a Dokkan YouTuber, and what do you think that he thinks? So
yeah, exactly.
so we'll see. We'll see in the future when we have her on. Hopefully,
yeah, she might be a bigger channel at that point, looking down on mine. We'll see how that goes. That'll be
Samasu
funny,
looking down on the Ningen. I see.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know who you're talking about. You don't exist to me anymore, right?
Yeah, remember when you get to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
May I ask, and it's okay if you don't want to talk about it, but just since I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant, but it doesn't seem like Social Fire is from Japan. And obviously, you know, you said that you are of Japanese origin. Yeah, well, yeah, you know, I don't want to be that guy, you know. But how did you guys meet? Because I'm just like curious with both of your backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, again, a lot of the stuff is straight up vanilla, man. Like, my life used to be different. But in terms of, like, certain stories, there's nothing that crazy about it. So this is your typical, you know, meeting at a bar setting, coming up with, you know, quirks and, you know, cordy pickup lines or whatever. I don't think I use pickup lines in that case. But, you know, it's like you meet and then you figure out you have similar passions. That's pretty much ultimately what it came down to. And it was an instant click. Honestly, that's
cool.
So, you know, I would love to say something like, you know, I was traveling. I was in Japan at the time, and she had traveled with her transitional period and discovering her new self and trying to find out what to do with life. And I kind of just, you know, swept her off her feet like Kevin Costner from Dances with the Wolves or whatever. You know what I mean? But I don't have that kind of story, man.
That's funny though. How did you both figure out that you like Dragon Ball then?
Honestly, so the two big passions that we immediately found out was gaming and soccer, right? Or European football, or whatever you want to. Football is what you want to call it, right? I
was going to say, is that your opening line? All right, do you like Dragon Ball? Yes or no?
Yeah. Now, you know what? Honestly, you might have met some interesting people with that kind of pickup line. You know what I mean? But,
that's true.
But that, you know, why waste somebody else's time, right? Because I mean, if you like Dragon Ball, you're gonna say yes, and you're like, hell yeah, I do. I didn't think you would do too, you know. So I don't know. It might kind of bypass all the BS, like, you know, curveballs that you had to throw or beat around the bushes. Or whatever. I don't know. You test that theory out.
Will do. I'll get back to you on that one. Nah, at the moment I'm single, so I'll do some field work for you.
Take a video of it and put it on YouTube. It'll be a good social experiment.
I was just gonna say it'll be a terrible prank video or a social experiment.
No, my
it's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank. Like, okay, so we're on a tangent here, but I'm gonna say this because we're on it. Just because you say a prank and do some effed up stuff, you still deserve that beating.
Yes, 100%. Like those YouTubers who went to jail because they pretended to rob an art gallery. 100% deserve.
Yeah, there's some things that aren't a joke, and some things just, you know, for whatever it is, viewership or clout or whatever. Some things you just don't do. But back to the original point. Yeah, I mean, it was basically just immediately finding out about similar passions, and then it was, again, like, for lack of better words and clarity, it was just instant click. You know what I mean? That's it.
That's cool. That's dope. I like it. You're a very lucky one, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's how life goes sometimes, right? It's just things kind of work itself out, and when you force it to happen, the more failure you're gonna experience. So sometimes you just have to let it. You have to be aggressive and take the initiative, but at the same time, you can't force things to happen. When you do, it usually goes the other way. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at life, anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good outlook to have. Just kind of, you know, go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't mean be a bum and wait for it to happen either.
Right. Of course. All right. Well, I have to ask because I feel like this is apparent. Because considering, you know, a lot of this time we've talked about, you know, your upbringing in Japan. Where is your accent from? Because it seems like maybe I just don't know Japanese accents for English, but it does not seem that way at all.
So all right, so what are we talking about here? What are we talking about?
You I guess where is your accent from? I guess because like to me, like I don't know, not that it sounds like a stereotypical Texan accent, but it like is sort of like going down that road in my mind anyway.
Right. So I think in a casual standpoint, right? It's I mean, the answer is pretty obvious. It's southeast, U.S. area. So that's pretty much. I mean, I've lived in New York for several years and stuff like that, but it's mostly been in the Southeast. So that's probably, I'm guessing exactly what the answer you're looking for to get clarification, right?
Yeah. I just want to, make sure because that's just even more interesting learning that, you're Japanese because I would have never guessed. I like low key. I just imagine you in real life looking like Kenshiro, basically.
Yeah, and that's the problem with having an avatar, right? Is you create this false facade of a reality that people expect, and yeah, so it's been maybe I should have came up with a different mascot, but it works. No,
it's all good. But speaking of which, our final question before we get to the little spinneroo: why do you use Kenshiro as your icon?
I mean, a lot of this is based on being spontaneous, and it's kind of like just bits and pieces from everywhere, right? Hold on a second. Hey, it's the last question, Social Fire. Seems like this podcast has been going on for 3 hours. What is the deal?
I'm sorry. Yo, blame Hantan.
You know what? You know what would be funny, right? When it eventually happens, when she's on yours, it'll probably be the same length, and I'm gonna be making fun of her for that. So keep that in mind, right?
Please do. We encourage it.
So I guess to answer your question, I mean, again, you know how much I love Fist of the North Star, right? And honestly, like for lack of a better way to explain it, that is like the manliest. Kenshiro is like the manliest mother that existed. You know what I mean? Like, he's like your man's man type deal, right? So, I don't know. As a teenager, especially like going through, adolescence or whatever, figuring out things in life, whatever, getting a, whatever. What's an ideal guy, right? And you come across that type of stuff. I don't know. It's always left an impact, right? I mean, he's just the definition of what a real man is, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the man. I don't know.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to, and there's a lot of characters outside of that, obviously, even in Dragon Ball and all that. But I think when it comes to that definition, I think he fits the bill out of anybody, really, and that's a personal opinion, obviously. But I mean, when it comes to the avatar itself, it's just again, back to the creation of the channel, right? You got to come up with a username, password, and avatar quickly, right? So it's just like whatever comes to mind first, stick it there, see if it sticks to the wall. Basically, that's pretty much how it went down. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't any real thought-provoking process behind it or anything. It was just simply just figuring something out quickly. That's what it was.
I mean, hey, good answer either way. You seem like you got the snappy bit coming up with it quick on deck. So. That's good.
Yeah, well, it's I like the more you think about it, it's like, all right, so the best example I can give you is whatever you play, let's say you start an RPG that's customizable with characters, right? You spend like several hours creating your avatar essentially, right? And then you come to find out, like, why the hell did I just do that? It's kind of like that. You got to come up with something quick if you can, and you can always change stuff later. But
I got you. It's like you accidentally hit the random button after all that time.
Yeah, and it's also funny you bring up the point, right? Once I've come to the crossroads where I need to identify my channel with something custom, right? So I've been at a point where I've been thinking about what kind of change can I make with that. So it's kind of funny you brought that up because I'm kind of at that dilemma right now.
Interesting. I mean, in the same regard, right? I mean, I agree with you to an extent. Like, I mean, that's funny considering, you're talking to a guy who wears a Mass Saiyan mask and an Epic Mewtwo hoodie for his icon. But I mean, I definitely think that channel consistency is important as well. Like, obviously, sometimes it's important to rebrand, but I think, keeping what, you kind of have identified as your mascot, I suppose you would say, for so long.
No, I agree. And
Right,
I think, like,
important.
the part, and I guess from a timing wise, the reason why if I were to do it, I should do it now is, like, I'm at that midpoint, right? Mm-hmm. And if I get larger, it's going to be even more difficult to rebrand potentially. Right. So, like, it's kind of like from a timing sensitivity standpoint, what's the best time to do it? And, obviously, like, Kenshiro isn't really my original work necessarily. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of like one of those situations where you have to think about it a little bit. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I don't know. Chances are I'll probably be lazy as hell and not change it, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, I don't know. You can still kind of adapt it into your thing. You never know.
Yeah, and that's where it is.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. There are people who, like, just, not to make an example of our man D-Free yet again, but he's literally just, like, most of the time just uses some Dokkan art for his icon. And I don't know. Maybe it's just...
That's true.
Right? Maybe it's just he's big enough to kind of be able to just be recognized by the name.
Right.
But,
I mean, he's got the memes built off of it and everything, so I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point.
Right. But at the same time, I do think that, like, representation consistency is important, because then you don't even need to read the name. You see the image, it's like, oh, yeah, it's this guy. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid point, and I think, it's gotten to the point where I've done it long enough. It's surprising, like, like close to 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be doing it this long, honestly. And plenty of people have done it several years more than I have. But, so it's definitely interesting, and considering some of the growth levels behind it, I mean, it's definitely been a very good experience. But, I guess, I'm at that point where, again, if I need, I think honestly, a lot of it's probably down to selfish reasons, right? You have this thing that is yours, right, essentially, and you want to create something it is your own, right? So if you incorporate certain elements that aren't necessarily yours, is that truly your own stuff? And the answer to that is yes, it absolutely is your own stuff, regardless of what you use, if it's outside sources, whatever. But I think for my personal selfish reasons, I think I'm, like, basically, again, being a knucklehead, thinking I have to. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's probably the best way to explain it.
I got you. Well, either way, I'm looking forward to what you come up with in the future.
Yeah, I gotta hire a good graphic designer or something, because I can't do squat on my end.
Well, I do have the, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit cartoony, especially for the aesthetic of Fist of the North Star, but the guy who did the art for the podcast is very good. But I digress. Enough plugging my man.
Yeah, we'll talk business later. How about
that? Of course. All right.
I'll take the last.
Go for it. I've been talking for too long.
The last question we have here.
I thought the last one was the last question. What happened?
Well, yes, but actually no.
That was the pre-last question. This is the last
the load question. Up, the lead up. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I think a lot of questions, honestly, but it's a 3.5 hour podcast. I don't know if I want to take up any of your time, but I guess, okay, so I don't know. Let me come up with some good questions here, because I do have quite a few. It's just a matter of catching it on the top of your fingertips type deal, you know what I mean?
Give us, like, maybe your top 2, top 3, and then if you want, you can ask the rest afterward if you would like. But
okay, so what about you guys, right? Like, how did you guys get associated with each other? How did you guys become friends?
Oh
boy,
that's an interesting question.
Also a long story.
I want you to
just make it into a paragraph summary, like basically the prologue to the episode. How about that?
All right. So basically, way back when I first started getting into Dokkan, I found this YouTuber who we've since parted ways with. Mm-hmm. Both of us named Dokkan Terra. And I
did hear about this.
Yeah.
I met Theo through his server. And one day when I went to VC, we just connected, and ever since then we've just been here.
Yeah.
Start from the bottom.
Pretty
Now,
awesome, man. I mean, sometimes all it takes is that instant click. I mean, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and now we're dating. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, you're kidding?
When is the announcement made on Twitter? I'm waiting for that to happen now.
Gotta add him to the bio.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny. I might do that for the meme.
Wait, I don't know. Outside of that, I mean, it's like questions like outside of anime, manga. Like what kind of sports you guys into? Are you guys actually normal, or do you classify yourself as weebs? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no. I own 5 katanas.
Helicopter.
No. Funny enough. And I guess I don't really talk about this too often. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull the rug from under your feet, Kayvon, but
you're good. No
sports wise, I mean, I do enjoy myself. Probably hockey would be the favorite of mine. But unfortunately, like, well, I mean, not unfortunately, because that sounds bad, but like, I grew up in a very like, I don't want to say sport oriented environment. But just because of the way things worked out in life, I mean, I'll stop beating around the bush. Basically, my dad was really into sports, and he kind of like, I don't want to say forced it upon me, but just, like,
I mean, yeah.
The
I know
parents,
exactly what you mean.
Right. The parents, reflect their likes on the kids. And me and my father, like, just to put it simply, don't necessarily have the best relationship. So, with that, it's just, kind of, it just became conflict of interest, like, especially with, me not being the biggest fan, his interests kind of were interests that I more so not wanted to avoid, but, just didn't really, like, coincide in that way. Maybe avoid, too, but I don't know. You get the point. So, it didn't, it just kind of, like, clashed a little bit, and I just kind of, not faded away from sports, but, it just kind of became less of an interest for me. I do enjoy, like playing, like, I love ice skating. I don't get to do it often. I knew how to ice skate before I could ride a bike. But I love ice skating. Playing hockey is dope. I'm a big fan of it. I played for a team for a little while. I don't know. I'm probably pretty rusty, but watching hockey is pretty entertaining. Of course, being from Chicago, we have 2 baseball teams, so there's got to be a little bit of baseball injected in there.
Yeah, true.
Especially with, maybe controversial opinion considering recent history, but I am by how I was raised a Sox fan. Right. Right now, definitely in the minority considering, the Cubbies just won.
I mean, the last 20 years have been pretty crazy for Chicago when it comes to baseball. It's been
even just sports in general. Hawks, won a couple of times, so on and so forth. But yeah, sports wise, that's me. Being normal, definitely not. I'm absolutely insane. No. I mean, I don't know. I guess I consider myself pretty normal. Got friends, go to work, school, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I have definitely some quirks. I don't know. Probably like big hobby right now besides YouTube, and I guess it kind of goes into YouTube, is just like collecting. I collect a lot of Dragon Ball stuff. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I do figure unboxing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit afraid of what your collection actually looks like, honestly.
I might do a room tour video at some point just to kind of show it all off. But I don't know. I like collecting. I'm a big fan of Nintendo. So I play a lot of Switch, whatnot. Joy-Con boys for life, of course. So I don't know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm a pretty. Oh, I almost just spilled my water. I guess I'm a pretty normal lad. Big Poppy, hit us with the goods.
I mean, my normal days usually consist of waking up, playing Dokkan, talking to friends, and going.
All right. Before you go any further, I gotta say, I thought you were totally gonna open with like, well, what's normal? You sounded like you were gonna say that.
I should have. You got me.
I mean,
what is normal?
That is true. To be fair, what do you define normal as?
Right. Are you asking me, or are you asking in general?
I mean, redundant or not redundant, rhetorical question, but I guess I'm asking.
Oh, I guess you trapped me on that one, right?
Got him. I play my trap card.
I don't know. I guess what I meant by normal, right, is what society considers normal, right?
Gotcha.
Like we know what the negative connotations are. We don't have to. We don't have to go.
We
into
live in a
details, spill the
society.
beans. You know what I mean? So that's basically what I was meaning.
So-
and I mean, you guys don't come across like that, honestly. You guys are passionate, but you guys don't
Yes.
seem like complete psychos or anything.
Wow.
I mean, I hope not.
Nah, I'd say definite. Probably not like the normal, I guess, quote unquote. But I mean, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, I know I interrupted you, Kayvon. My bad. So go ahead.
No. I mean, I said all I had to say, really, but I don't do that much, I'll be honest.
He is quite. He does live under his rock, his proverbial
Okay,
rock.
so without dragging this out further, I just have 2 questions, and you guys can answer this very quickly because it looks like, I don't know, are we on the same? I guess we're on different time zones. It's like 11:30 p.m. So,
Same
we're
here.
at the, with that, so 2 questions. One being, when it comes to YouTube or any social media, right, with this certain community, right, is that isolated from your friends in real life, or they blended in together? What's the deal?
Ooh. That's an interesting question. Some of them, yes. Some of them, no. I have a couple of the homies who, play Dokkan pretty consistently, and we'll talk about it and whatnot. Some of my friends kind of meme on me on YouTube, but that's okay. We're all about goofs and gaffs. Some of them aren't necessarily interested in Dragon Ball at all, which, completely fine. But definitely some overlap. Yeah. I mean, like, unfortunately I don't, well, actually that's not true. I do have a couple of, like Dragon Ball-ish kind of anime YouTubers around me. But nobody like Dokkan specifically in terms of YouTube. But yeah, I got some of my boys play a little bit of Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle,
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. It's fun. It's nice being able to, like, flex. That was going to be awful. Flex on people in real life is what I was going to say.
Yeah. So what about you, Kayvon? You got, Twitter, whatever, this part of the side of the community and how that blends in with the, in real life perspective.
Friends exist in real life.
My man's a little bit.
Don't go that route.
I mean, to be fair.
Usually people.
Go ahead.
Usually people that say that usually have a bunch of friends, honestly.
I mean, I mainly only really have one friend I really see all that often.
Yeah, but you know what? That's important. That's an important thing, though. Like, honestly, it's good to have a handful of friends that you can call friends without having what you would say a ton of friends, right? Those are not friends. Those are acquaintances, in my
Quality
opinion.
over quantity.
Yeah. That's a good answer, honestly.
Well, does he play Dokkan?
No, he doesn't.
You should get him to play Dokkan, bro.
I would, but he's not that big a fan of Dragon Ball Z, sadly.
Oof.
It is a shame.
Gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. Start him somewhere.
Yeah, as sad as it is to kind of say, like, most of my friends are through online. Like, most of the closest friends I have, but that's mainly because all the friends I have from high school have all went our separate ways, basically. You know how that.
Yeah, and it happens. Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody faces that issue where you go to high school is such a pseudo ecosystem, and you go to college and you actually figure out what BS high school was. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like that's kind of how people go their separate ways, I guess, in a way.
But it doesn't help that ever since I left high school, I've moved to a decently far place from all the friends I used to have there. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. But you have, you can always reconnect. You got technology with social media now. So if you, like, for example, like there are friends in Japan that I grew up with, right, that I haven't met in like 15, 20 years, right, and reconnected on Facebook and I saw them for the first time like a few years ago in Japan. Like, there's always opportunities like that. It's just a matter of taking the initiative, I guess. So. Maybe stuff like that will work out. I don't know.
Yeah.
The question is, do I want to reconnect with those people?
That's a good question too. It's like, and I agree with you 100% because in my case too, a lot of times I don't want to reconnect. I don't give about you. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I loved all my high school friends, but boy, I could do without all that drama that happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's it is what it is. High school is high school. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm content with my online presence.
Well, at least you got me
right now.
Last question, right? Last question.
Yeah.
You guys play Dokkan Battle, so we can all understand.
No, I don't
this,
actually.
This Okay, well,
Sorry.
I'm asking you this question anyway. I'm asking you this question anyway. So you know how the gacha systems are set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's essentially gambling, for lack of better words. If we're being honest. Here, it's
Yeah.
That's gambling.
So with that being said, do you guys actually gamble in real life, and what's your game of choice? For me, it's roulette and poker.
No.
I have.
Just like because I don't know, I don't trust myself enough. You know, I don't
But you trust yourself in Dokkan, right?
This is true, but at the same time, I'm trying to get a PNG of my favorite character. Even though money is definitely more worth it, or like more valuable, I suppose. I don't know. I don't indulge, I suppose, in such things. I want to keep it limited. I already have enough of a problem with Dokkan. I don't need more of it.
You
know?
Basically, what it sounds like is you don't want to take the risk of taking out of your available funds from Dokkan to get more money. You just don't see the value of the trade-off and potential risk behind it.
Yes.
One way to put it.
That is a great... yes.
Oh, goodness.
Oh. So,
Hey, scared money don't make no money, man.
that is, that's true. That is true. Kayvon, are you just the same?
I mean, like, I'll be honest, I don't like having money, as weird as that sounds. Because, like, I just don't like the responsibility money gives me. Like, I just don't like deal with it, so I'd rather just spend the money I have on me.
So is it a matter of a saving standpoint, or you just simply want to enjoy life and spend it? Or is it the fact that you just can't you hate the fact of money being on your hands?
Basically that, yeah.
That would be a great problem to have for me. I wish I hated money, but I can't say I don't.
So I will say, if I had to choose a game that I would gamble on, blackjack all the way.
Yeah, blackjack is it's an interesting game. Roulette's a lot of fun. Here, the best way to describe roulette is you can make a lot of money very fast, or you can lose a lot of money very quickly.
I mean, yeah.
I don't want to talk about losses in my life, which I've had. I haven't had that many, but I've had a few of them that. But you know what? If you think about it from a Dokkan battle perspective, some of these wells out there, it's not as bad as what they spend to get shafted.
Yeah, that is true. But then at the same time, is comparing yourself to them good?
Yeah, you're right about that too. I guess it's all relative, based on each person. But
my spending on Dokkan is pretty much limited to 32 stone sales.
Yeah. I don't know how they came up with that number, but
that is true. Dokkan, low key, Global be wildin' with like the amount of stones that they give. Next, they're gonna be like, oh, here's our 73 stone pack.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Dokkan Battle. I mean, we've potentially got new banners dropping late next week and all that, year end, 5-year anniversary, all that. I'm sure you're gonna have plenty of discussions. I guess we'll go down that avenue at some point. But,
most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Heroes, right? So I was actually talking about this earlier. Typically on the schedule, it's late November, early December, right, when the collaboration banners come out every year for JP.
Apparently, there should be released info for them tomorrow, I think, or tonight.
Because there's going to be a Joe-Con battle, yeah. Who's Joe?
What is a Joe-Con battle?
Jojo X Dokkan battle.
Who's Joe? Battle. No, there's a Dragon Ball Heroes live stream that's going on for information coming up because they're about to celebrate their 9th anniversary. So people are speculating it'll be announced there, which is a good guess.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I should be able to find out a lot of information. Is it similar to like the live stream events that happen with Dokkan and all that, similar approach, or is it like what's the? Because I heard it was an actual like headquarters at like a event location or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be. I don't think. Is it at?
I thought it was a Bandai headquarters or some shit. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. I'm just waiting for somebody to pop it onto the TL and be like, "It's live," and I'll be like, "All right, let's tune in."
I mean, if you know enough about it, you don't necessarily. I mean, I don't know if they have bilingual available options or whatever, but you know enough about the game, you should be able to figure it out pretty easily, I'm sure.
That is true. That is true. Even without your glorious translator presence.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I thought about it, like, yeah, but I don't know anything about it, so what help would I be? Like, I'd just be speaking random. It'd be like, it'll be like one of those United Nations translators. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just translating for the sake of translating. You know what I mean?
Fair. I mean, hey, people would appreciate the information. Not that I'm telling you to do it, and not that I'm saying that that's me specifically.
Well, I have a feeling it's gonna be early in the morning, and remember, I'm having plenty of water right now, so we'll see.
Yes, of course.
That is true.
Water.
Plenty of H2O. Hydrate or dihydrate, kids.
Oh
High quality H2O.
See, that was a completely different voice than the monotone.
Yeah, it was. Well,
Yeah, no, I felt highly uncomfortable doing that. I'll just put it to you that way.
Well, good. You're getting out of your comfort zone, just like we talked about.
Yeah, I did for a brief second, and I'm going right back into my current state. So
exactly.
I got my brief moment.
And they pull me right back in.
I think we've
Where I'm at.
peaked.
I think we have peaked. Oh, man. All right. Well, this was most certainly a good time. To all of you who are still here, thank you so much for sticking around. I know we're on Hanton time right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a record. I'll have to check.
I think you are. I think you're setting the standard. We'll have to see how we
Definitely worth
go.
it, though. Definitely worth it.
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess your future guests are going to be like me and check out the podcast one time, and I'm like, should I do this or not?
And
But it
now,
was a good time. I enjoyed it.
good. I'm glad to hear it. And now look at you. You beat the record, and you know.
Although before we recorded this, it was just like, we're probably just gonna be an hour and a half, 3 hours later.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be an hour.
That's all right. I'm sorry to keep you, but I'm glad it wasn't just us talking the whole time. You were contributing,
Yeah.
obviously.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. And thank you for planning
for
this
being on,
early,
yeah.
so it wouldn't be like 3 a.m. by the time we were done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice.
Good call on that one. Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Of course, again, thank you to Jin-roh for being a part of the podcast today. You're always welcome back. Usually how we do this, by the way, I know that we're kind of like treading on lost time here, but usually if we have you back, obviously the preliminary podcast is usually an interview kind of getting to know you, and I think we know you pretty well by now.
Yeah, more than you should, honestly, at this point. More than I should allow.
But we once in a while we'll bring the guest back on for a topic in the future to discuss with us. So I don't know, who knows, if you got something you want to talk about, or we think you maybe got some things to say about something in the world, the big wide world of Dokkan, we'll let you know, or you let us know. Back
Yeah,
again
sounds
at the
good.
table.
Yeah, sounds good. I had a good time, and thanks for having me on, and I'm definitely open to future podcasts, so feel free to let me know anytime.
Good. Glad to
good.
hear it. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We're going to end it here. If you made it till the end, comment the noise that Kenshiro makes when he does his famous attack
no.
in the comment section below. If you made it this far.
And it's with all the oh my woman.
And the yeah. With that, from all of us here at the Extreme Z Podcast, we will see you in the next one.
Later, guys.